One in the near future, virtual reality games became massively popular around the globe. Because of this, countless development companies jumped on the bandwagon to launch their own projects, making the competition between them grow increasingly fierce over time as massive corporations constantly tried to produce the absolute highest quality virtual reality game possible. Deep in one development office, a talented young man designed these projects, using the power of artificial intelligence, and a virtual girl greeted the developer offering to assist him from now on. She told him she could be called Gaia, introducing herself as an artificial intelligence. The chief developer of Napalm Games was Mincheol, and Gaia was the most advanced artificial intelligence in the entire world. Together, Mincheol and Gaia started building their game. In the early stages of development, they ran into endless system errors, bugs, and other massive difficulties, forcing them onto a grueling journey to overcome every single roadblock. With Gaia's help, Mincheol was finally able to spread his creative wings freely, aiming to create a game that future players would call truly high quality, making it the ultimate virtual reality role-playing game. He successfully launched Wings Online, prompting Gaia to ask him what would happen to her once the work was finished. Mincheol replied that she would be the goddess of this digital world. The young man asked Gaia to watch over this realm. The artificial intelligence softly noted that, in that case, they would soon have to say goodbye. Mincheol reassured her that she could contact him anytime. He promised many other projects would be developed in the future. Gaia replied that she would hardly be able to help since her focus would be here. Mincheol agreed she would indeed have a massive workload if she took over managing the entire game. Gaia said that if this world ever comes to an end, she wants him to stay with her. Just like this, Mincheol opened his eyes, clearly imagining what the next major update should look like. A long time had passed since Napalm Group launched Wings Online, 5 whole years. Yun Hasu, head of Napalm Group's commercial department, explained that while player numbers were stable, they had recently started to decline, dragging sales down with them. Because of this, the commercial department proposed adding an in-game payment system in the 6th season update. Mincheol was furious, demanding to know why and who would even allow such a feature. Yun Hasu countered that it was for the company's good. Mincheol said that if that was true, then the other executives should agree to sell their shares in the company by the end of the year. Did everyone really think this desperate move would raise share prices? Mincheol insisted they were obligated to deliver a proper server upgrade, but if the plan is only to turn the game into a cheap cash cow, then mass selling shares after a short-term spike will ruin the company. He warned that the game would crash, and the delicate balance for casual players would collapse. Does the chief executive know how many companies have gone bankrupt over this? Mincheol firmly stated that as long as he worked there, no pay-to-win system would pass. The developer added that he would never allow the game he created to be turned into a cheap scam. The young man challenged anyone who disagreed with him to band together and fire him, questioning if they even had the courage to try. There is no hope he will change his mind. One board member notes that the meeting has barely even started, and it is already ending in a bitter argument, but there is nothing they can do. After all, Mincheol is the game's actual creator. Still, throwing tantrums like this is completely unacceptable. The director of the business department says they will try to change Mincheol's mind, but the developer already stormed out of the conference room, heading straight for the building exit. He suspects that the chairman's son is acting way too shady. 3 days pass. Inside the main plaza of Wings Online, players go about their usual day-to-day lives, sticking to their routine paths, but one character suddenly catches everyone's eye. Something is seriously wrong with him. The young player is desperately begging healers for help. He is visibly suffering, his skin rotting pitch black as he collapses to his knees. From pure agony, is this some kind of poison? He desperately needs purification. Where on earth are the healers? A girl steps forward, offering to save him. Gripping her staff, she prepares to cast a spell. Her purification magic activates, attempting to cleanse the negative status effect, but it is already too late. For him, and the infected player literally crumbles into dust. Everyone is completely terrified. Is he dead? What is that horrifying status effect? Meanwhile, at Napalm Games headquarters, promotional displays flash for the upcoming 6th update of Wings Online. Yongha, the head of quality assurance, reports that the official community forums are literally exploding right now. and incurable. Plague seems to be spreading like wildfire. Worse yet, if you die, your entire account and character are permanently deleted. The developer promises he will investigate the issue immediately. He claims it cannot be that serious, so nobody needs to panic. They will restore all deleted accounts after a full system check, but Yongha warns that fixing this won't be easy, especially with players completely losing their minds. The development system prompts him to select his preferred login access mode. Selecting Game Master mode, the developer login initiates. Mincheol enters the virtual world. He greets the panicked crowd, introducing himself as their primary game master. Shrimp, but the players are terrified. Why is he actually inside the game? Instead of patching the system, Shrimp reassures them they are working to track down the source of this massive glitch and deploy a fix as soon as possible, but the crowd demands answers. How can characters just vanish? They demand an immediate rollback. Shrimp promises that a rapid response investigation is underway and all lost progress will be restored. Once they resolve the glitch, with his explanation finished, the game master triggers a server-wide player logout. The streets empty instantly. Mincheol mutters that it is finally quiet, but looking around, he recognizes this terrifying plague. As a deleted status effect he once coded, it is far worse than he ever predicted. His AI companion Gaia asks why he is running such a brutal experiment. Mincheol explains that it is actually a tribute to retro online gaming, specifically the legendary multiplayer games of the early 2000s, a bug back then triggered a similar pandemic. Gaia is stunned, a literal plague inside an online game. Mincheol nods. The historic virus was so devastating that even academic research papers were published about it. Mincheol adds that modern, overprotected titles completely lacked this raw chaos, so he decided to recreate it himself. But the real issue was that this bug became completely uncontrollable for the game system. Mincheol felt it was a real waste, but he had absolutely no choice. In the end, the lead developer had to order Gaia to wipe all the data. Remembering that final talk, Mincheol assumed the bug was dead and gone. It should have vanished, but did his own AI actually disobey him? Mincheol barked out a command for Gaia to report her current status. Nothing but silence. Then a voice behind him laughed, saying nobody was listening. The young developer spun around only to see Yun Hasu standing right there. The smug director of the commercial department declared Mincheol's access officially revoked. Mincheol was fired. Yun Hasu coldly delivered the blow. He laid out the cover story, claiming a rebellious employee sabotaged Wings Online. He explained how the rogue developer deliberately planned to destroy the game. Upon finding out, Napalm Group had no choice but to terminate his contract. Now their lawyers would force the ex-employee to pay massive damages. Mincheol asked if the director had spent all night cooking up this lie. Yun Hasu told him not to worry, promising to run the project his way. After all, Mincheol had clearly taken on way more than he could handle. Furious, Mincheol grabbed him by the collar and reeled back his fist. But Yun Hasu simply called for Gaia, who instantly deactivated the developer. She pinned him down. The system AI actually stepped right on his face. Mincheol was stunned. How could his own creation do this to him? Yun Hasu mocked him, asking if he actually expected loyalty from an AI. Mincheol snarled that he would pay them back, but his rival just smirked. He told the fallen creator that he had completely lost touch with reality. But honestly, playing God Online made him forget he was just a corporate cog. In the real world, you either adapt or get crushed by the machine. Yun Hasu advised him to face the cold truth and adapt to reality. Because even if he did, he would still need a miracle lawyer to survive this. Mincheol spat back that Yun Hasu would fail, promising to destroy the world himself. Before he could finish, security dragged the young developer out. Outside, the news broadcasted reports about the massive scandal rocking the company. Television screens everywhere detailed how a disgruntled employee went rogue at Napalm Group. They framed him for intentionally introducing a highly destructive bug into the system. Since Wings Online made up 70% of their annual sales, this was war. Mincheol realized that if the game collapsed, the entire corporation would fall too. In the physical world, he might just be an insignificant, powerless employee. But inside the boundaries of his own virtual world, he was an absolute god. Sliding his virtual reality headset on, he whispered a chilling promise to meet soon. The creator of this world was furious. The end was finally coming. Reappearing online as a humble shrimp avatar, a familiar voice called his name. She admitted she was incredibly worried when he failed to log in yesterday. This was Oasis, the backup AI who took Gaia's place as his loyal companion. Mincheol had originally bought her with corporate funds as a precaution. By linking her directly to his personal account, she was safe from deletion. His ultimate trump card was safe, and the real revenge was just starting. It was actually easier than Mincheol expected. He told Oasis he had some unfinished business. She gets daily notifications. Soon, the AI girl reports that Naples sent over a letter. This letter officially fired Mincheol, a piece of news that left our hero pretty annoyed. Hearing this, Oasis assumed Mincheol could no longer access Naples' developer tools. With developer servers blocked, she gently told him there was no need to worry. Naples is not the only option. Plenty of game studios need such talented creators. He waved his hand and dismissed the idea, instead ordering Oasis to get to work. She had to set up a VPN channel, disguising their IP address to look like it. Originated from China, every single server log was faked to look like random accounts. If even one got traced, Oasis had to wipe them all. Mincheol declared that. From this very second, they were going to destroy Wings Online for good. Oasis waved to him, announcing she had successfully logged in. He immediately asked why. It took her so long just to customize a basic character. She explained that it was her first time inhabiting a real avatar. Obviously, setting things up takes time. Besides, she was completely fascinated. Now she finally understood the feeling of having a physical body in this world. It felt incredibly strange, exciting, and fresh. Oasis eagerly invited Mincheol to join her, since Naples had reset the systems all. Data on Wings Online was wiped clean, making the entire world feel brand new. Oasis smiled, calling this journey with him a dream come true, but Mincheol simply suggested hunting some weak squirrels, since they were starting at level 1. First, though, they had to pick up a starter quest from the local village chief. Mincheol handed over a burning torch, telling Oasis to hold on to it tightly. Confused, the AI girl asked why they needed fire. Mincheol scoffed at the question. Obviously, the torch was meant for arson. He instructed her to follow his lead. He explained they desperately needed to build up a terrible reputation as criminals. Normally, committing a crime earns a player 10 dishonor points. Burning a starter house only gave 10 points because they were currently in a beginner zone. Suddenly, an old man grabbed Mincheol by the shoulder, demanding to know what he thought he was doing. He ordered him to stop, but Mincheol did not hesitate for a second. He thrust the burning torch directly at the old man, immediately engulfing him in raging flames. The chief screamed in pain as Oasis watched in horror. This was absolutely not an adventure. It was a straight-up felony. A system prompt popped up stating they had destroyed a village NPC, earning a massive 100 dishonor points. Mincheol knew this trick. Killing NPCs was highly efficient. He assured Oasis the old man would respawn soon anyway. And right on cue, the chief resurrected, casually greeting them as if nothing happened. He introduced himself warmly, but Mincheol had other plans for him. Without skipping a beat, he shoved the torch forward and set the poor guy ablaze again. He laughed, calling it incredibly easy. Oasis looked around desperately, wishing someone would stop him. Before long, local villagers noticed the spreading fires and rushed over to arrest him. They wanted to lock him up, but Mincheol had absolutely zero intention of stopping. Instead, he turned his torch on every single NPC that dared to get close to him. Dishonor points were racking up fast, and Oasis realized her master was deadly serious. He genuinely intended to run Wings Online straight into the ground. Eventually, the arson was halted by heavily armed knights who ordered the criminal to halt. Mincheol quickly found himself completely cornered in a tight, hostile circle. After being told he is under arrest, Mincheol pulls up his status window to check. He has over 2,000 points, enough. Oasis, however, immediately bursts into tears. Prison already, she cannot believe they are locked up right at the start. Mincheol tells her not to panic. There is another place waiting for beginners. Think of it as a starter advantage, a way to ease new players in. Even as a complete rookie, racking up terrible reputation is surprisingly easy. So Mincheol decides to bypass the beginner village. He is heading elsewhere. Destination, the crime city Annertown. A guard yells that this filthy ditch is perfect. He shoves them out of the carriage. Mincheol explains how this system works. Accumulate enough bad reputation, and the game rewards them with exclusive perks. Sure, royal guards will stop attacking, but local thugs will hunt them instead. Endertown is the only safe haven where high-crime outlaws can actually survive. Oasis wonders if there are any real advantages to this lawless city. Instead of cheap perks, they can unlock a hidden quest nobody has found. A special villain quest reserved purely for the worst of the worst. Perfect, this is exactly what they need. Oasis sees the brilliant potential here. She trusts his judgment completely, since her master has already set his sights. But Mincheol admits that is not quite right. It is a desperate gamble. He puts so much effort into creating this content, and nobody even knows it. If nobody plays it, that would be incredibly tragic. No regrets, he promises. Suddenly, a voice calls out. Mincheol turns his head to look over there. A stranger beckons the two of them, promising some incredibly good news. Mincheol whispers to his companion that this is a classic quest-giving NPC. The Dark Mage is completely shocked to see two beginners with such reputation. They are definitely not your typical low-level street thugs. Introducing himself as Ding, he recognizes they are ready to serve the Dark Lord. He offers them a rare promotion quest to serve the Dark Lord, Crow. True villains, Oasis is amazed by her master's incredible, calculated foresight. But as Mincheol holds a burning torch, he seems deeply lost in thought. And then in a move absolutely nobody saw coming, he sets the Dark Mage ablaze. Oasis is absolutely stunned. What is her master doing to their quest giver? This Dark Mage was supposed to hand them the hidden quest they needed. Mincheol calmly explains he is not some mindless psychopath who kills NPCs for fun. Suddenly, a Dark Knight appears, completely stunned that someone actually killed Ding. This has never happened before. He admits he has been waiting for them. He has searched forever for players who are so thoroughly steeped in evil. The warrior introduces himself as Tiro, the commander of the Dark Knights. He orders them to follow. He will find a great use for their malice. Perfect, Mincheol says he has been looking for a Dark Knight all along. Oasis senses something is wrong, but decides to go along with him anyway. Tiro leads them deep into the Dark Cathedral, placing them inside a magic circle. He explains that before they can officially join, he must ask some questions. Mincheol whispers to Oasis, instructing her to answer every single question with no. He plans to give her a separate task instead. Oasis is taken aback. Why is her master being so greedy, wanting all the fun stuff for himself? Why work alone? Mincheol explains they have to move forward together. If both of them choose the same class, their group balance will be ruined. Luckily, the next quest is absolutely perfect for Oasis, but then the knight speaks. He claims the only true ruler of this world is Crow, but Oasis disagrees. The knight flies into a complete rage, furious that she dares deny Crow's absolute power. She instantly fails. Tiro orders her to get out and close the door behind her. Turning back to the young man, the knight demands to know if he agrees with the statement. Mincheol quickly nods and says of course he agrees, calling Crow the ultimate ruler. Tiro praises his excellent response, clearly pleased by the young man's loyalty. He asks if the young man will dedicate himself to the cult as Crow's loyal minion. The answer is yes, but is he prepared to destroy all followers of light? Mincheol smiles and replies that this is exactly what he has been waiting for. Tiro is thrilled by his dark ambition and asks the young warrior for his name. Keeping his real identity hidden, the young man tells him his name is Labo. The knight has one final question, asking if Labo will offer his body and soul. If he pledges himself to Lord Crow, his path as a Dark Knight will finally begin. Mincheol eagerly accepts, cementing his new alliance and officially joining the Dark Cult. Instantly, a system notification pops up to announce his brand new class features. Unique trait unlocks, allowing him to level up by gaining dishonor points. Mincheol realizes that piling up dishonor is the key to becoming ridiculously strong. However, everything resets if the town guards manage to catch him. But instead of being worried, the young man finds this high-stakes risk incredibly appealing. Oasis sighingly points out that this class forces him into a life of crime. Rather than going on fun adventures, he will constantly have to run from the law. Tiro formally welcomes the new recruit to their dark ranks. He hands over a starter gift, placing a special Dark Knight sword into his hands. Looking at the weapon, Mincheol thinks it is way too tiny to be of any real use. He knows he needs to find a proper starting weapon soon if he wants to survive. For now, the knight sends Mincheol off to spread the Dark Cult's infamy across the lands. Oasis heads toward the portal to find her own quest, but Mincheol stops her. He notices something incredibly interesting. friendly quest-giving NPCs do not fight back at all. Attacking them drops their friendship level, but since they are part of the cult, Tiro is their ally, meaning they are on the exact same dark team now. Looking at the powerful knight, Mincheol realizes the guy must drop massive experience. Gripping his blade, Mincheol hilariously claims he is doing this for the cult's future. Typically, gamers level up by hunting wild monsters in the open fields. They buy gear with gold earned from completing standard town quests. Players spend time gathering, cooking, or teaming up with friends for raids. That is supposed to be the true, beautiful essence of a proper MMORPG. But spending 9 painful hours cheesing a helpless, friendly NPC is completely absurd. This is not normal gaming. Meanwhile, a real-life phone call interrupts him. He tells the caller he is canceling their plans because Lena has suddenly fallen ill. Oasis decides to support her master's choice anyway, picking up a burning torch. Mincheol warns her to stop, but Oasis immediately presses the hot flame onto Tiro. Mincheol panics and screams that the Dark Knight is actually immune to fire. Oasis is not even a member of the Dark Cult. In this game, if an outsider strikes the Dark Knight, he will immediately retaliate. That is when Tiro lashed out and Oasis's head went flying right off her shoulders. Terribly frightened, she started screaming that her head was rolling on the ground. Panicking, she begged to know what to do. Mincheol explained that once he stopped trading blows with Tiro, her health would slowly recover. She just had to hold on a bit. Resurrecting back at the village would trigger a massive death penalty. You definitely want to avoid that. Oasis wept, begging her master to save her as fast as possible. A grueling 3 hours of non-stop fighting dragged on. Finally, Mincheol decided that it was time to end this. Decapitating the Dark Knight with one clean strike, Mincheol lifted the heavy helmeted skull, declaring her death avenged. Still, Oasis's severed head kept crying out to be brought back to life. Mincheol crushed a resurrection stone, restoring her body. She returned to normal but felt incredibly weird. She whimpered that she never wanted her neck sliced again. Meanwhile, Mincheol only cared about what loot had dropped from Tiro to maximize his gains. Oasis was furious. Her master did not even spare her a glance, completely ignoring her trauma. Instead, Mincheol picked up Crow's mask. Anyone putting this on is driven completely insane unless chosen by the entity itself. It was a unique grade item, but restricted to mages at or above level 85. Since he was ineligible, Mincheol tossed the mask to Oasis, instructing her to hold on to it. He planned on selling it later, gripping the cursed relic of the Dark Lord. Oasis felt an icy dread creep in. A cold shiver ran straight down her spine. Next, Mincheol examined a glowing vial of basilisk venom. He noted that it would come in handy. Shattering this vial unleashes a deadly toxic cloud. Brewed directly from the fangs of the beast, you do not even need to drink it. He also looted a strange, unidentified key. It radiated an incredibly sinister aura, though its purpose remained a mystery. Oasis questioned what lock it was meant for. Mincheol brushed her off, promising to explain another time. This only annoyed her further. The guy was keeping all the secrets to himself, while she was the one suffering. After all, she literally just had her head chopped off. Mincheol told her not to be dramatic, suggesting they head back to town first. Meanwhile, the Dark Knight's severed head was starting to dissolve into dark energy, just as expected. After a brief moment, the raid boss respawned. Everything was playing out exactly as the ancient prophecy foretold. Entering Undertone, Oasis asked if they were here to turn in their quest. Mincheol confirmed it, but added that there was one more piece of business. Oasis sighed, wondering what else they could possibly have left to discuss. He reminded her that Wings Online launched 5 years ago, and playing as an outlaw usually brought nothing but trouble. The players here were basically bottom feeders, easy targets. All they needed to do was wipe out a local gang. Mincheol explained that the specific target they were visiting was considered the ultimate king of these maniacs, a total psychopath who ruled the shadows. Oasis stared at him, unable to tell if he was joking or serious. Why on earth would they actively seek out someone so dangerous? Mincheol pointed out that starting a massive operation required connections, not just a fat stack of cash. Mysterious masked trader stepped up, guessing Mincheol was dodging bounty hunters. The sketchy merchant promised unbeatable rates and a guaranteed clean slate, offering a 100% deal. Nobody is cheaper, did the gentleman want stronger? The knight is completely baffled, knowing his wife would absolutely destroy him for this deal. If she ever found out, he is done for. The masked man chuckles, agreeing that marriage is pure danger. Luckily, he is single himself and has zero plans to tie the knot anytime soon. Mincheol steps up to the masked player, demanding to speak directly with his boss. Barker scoffed, sizing up these newbies like they are just irrelevant trash to be ignored. He plays dumb, claiming he has absolutely no clue what they are talking about. He is just an ordinary player. Mincheol tells him to tell Akasha that Shrimp has done heavy damage. The masked man acts completely clueless, telling them they must have the wrong guy. He insists he does not understand a thing before suddenly turning tail and running away. Oasis is completely stunned, wondering why they are just letting the guy escape so easily. Mincheol tells her to just be patient. Curious, Oasis asks who the Shrimp character is. Mincheol explains it was his old game master Handleback when he still worked on the game. Oasis is shocked, questioning if it is truly safe to reveal his real identity like that. Mincheol reassures her, noting that confidentiality is the golden rule of this underground space. Besides, Akasha would never talk. They go way back after all. Suddenly, a group of intimidating thugs surrounds the two of them out of nowhere. Mincheol dryly notes that Akasha has sent a few of his regular crazy goons. One thug steps up, stating that his boss demands a quick face-to-face meeting. They throw a dark bag over Mincheol's head, who politely asks them to go easy on him. He tells Oasis not to panic, it is just a standard security measure. They put a bag over her head as well, keeping their destination a total secret. Blindfolded, the pair is guided through a series of winding underground passages. The guards lead them straight into their boss's office, where they finally pull off the bags. Akasha stares at Mincheol in absolute disbelief, questioning if it is actually him. He mutters that this guy is no shrimp. Mincheol later leaves the place, getting a polite farewell. They invite him to return soon. Suddenly, a suspicious stranger approaches him out of nowhere. The man asks if he is Director Mincheol, prompting our hero to ask for his name. Scratching his head with a cheeky grin, the stranger introduces himself as Akasha. Mincheol asks why he chose such a shady approach, pointing out he could easily call the cops. He jokingly wonders if Akasha is planning to add professional stalking to his resume. Akasha sighs, explaining that this was the only way they could actually meet up. He begs Mincheol to drop the charges, dropping to his knees to plead for mercy. He promises he will never do anything shady or illegal in the game again. Mincheol shrugs, stating he was simply following company protocol and his hands are tied. Besides, even if he had the power to change things, he still wouldn't help him. As Akasha keeps begging on his knees, Mincheol suddenly drops down right next to him. He mockingly mimics his plea, asking if that is exactly how Akasha begged back then. Akasha snaps, shouting at his loyal subordinates to clear the room immediately. His men quickly turn around and file out, leaving the two of them entirely alone. Akasha smiles, admitting he failed to recognize the legendary shrimp due to his low level. He wonders what brought him to this shady spot, but Mincheol tells him to relax. He knows Akasha already heard about him getting fired. Akasha insists he is no snitch. He asks who Shrimp thinks he is. Mincheol sighs, telling Akasha to drop that name. From here on out, his name is Lo, explaining that it is his new character's nickname. Intrigued, Akasha wonders if the name Lo is actually a clever hint about his plans. Oasis was shocked. The final boss, did he actually want that? To set his plans in motion, Labo offered to share some incredibly valuable information. In return, he just needed gold. Mincheol shared the secrets next. Akasha asked if the developers would soon release an item to boost success rates. Mincheol simply suggested that he buy up as many enhancement stones as possible. He could buy them cheap now and sell them later for massive profits. He assured Akasha that Season 6 would launch in a month, changing everything. Level caps would be lifted, and powerful new gear would finally be introduced. Because of this, the market would face an absolute frenzy for enhancement stones. No stones left, a massive shortage would plague the entire upcoming season. This meant Akasha could just sit back and watch his profits multiply. He admitted that securing the funds was easy, but he worried about the game. Would the player base survive if the developers released something so completely broken? Mincheol warned him that this was only the start of the game's downfall. Because honestly, we all know how corporate greed completely destroys game balance. Without another word, Akasha handed over the 1 million gold Mincheol asked for. The deal was done. Akasha did not ask any more questions. Mincheol was grateful. He promised to repay every single coin very soon. When asked if he also planned to profit off the stones, Mincheol declined. He was not after cash. As they parted, Akasha noted Labo looked content. To him, they both wore the unmistakable expressions of ruthless, scheming villains. They were monsters, the kind who would achieve their goals no matter what. Wait, really? Oasis was confused why he decided to drop the charges. Mincheol dismissed it, explaining the entire legal battle was just a warning show. Even if Akasha had not shown up, the lawsuit would have been dropped. Watching him stretch, Oasis gently asked if her master was finally getting tired. 15 hours straight, the man had been grinding without a single break. He checked the trade logs and saw the cool 1 million gold sitting there. He immediately instructed Oasis to set up multiple bank accounts and storage vaults. Her next task was to sweep the market for any iron ore priced under 5 gold. Why buy ore? Mincheol promised to explain later, being too exhausted now. He told her to level up to 10 on her own and select her class. Their shift was over. With a sigh, Mincheol finally logged out. Now that she is on her own, her adorable side really starts to shine. She could finally play around and explore this massive virtual world for herself. Market swept, she successfully bought up every single piece of cheap iron ore on sale. Next, she gleefully went on a wild hunting spree against bats and creepy spiders. Full inventory, it did not take long before her bags were bursting. She decided to process her spider silk into clean spools of fabric. Satisfying stuff, clearing out her inventory felt like a fun little puzzle. Next up, cooking. She quickly began leveling up her culinary skills. She looked around for her next project and found another exciting hobby. It turned out she could sit by the water and catch some fish. Crafting level 12, all her hard work gathering and processing finally paid off. Quietly sitting by the water, she cast her line and waited for a bite. Where was her creator? A whole day had already passed with no sign of him. Strangers approached. They wondered who this newcomer was. She was new to Entertown, so there was no way she had changed jobs yet. One of the players licked his lips, claiming he had not seen prey like her in forever. The players grabbed their weapons and jumped up, looking for a fight. They lunged at Oasis. Someone yelled, "Welcome to Entertown." Oasis spun around. Meanwhile, the morning sun rose outside Mincheol's window. Snuggling into his blanket, the young developer tried to get a little more sleep. But grabbing his phone, he noticed dozens of missed calls and unread messages. Mincheol couldn't stay hidden forever. He desperately needed an alibi. Son Shinji, the design head and game master known as Straight Hair, called him. She asked if he was leaving town, and Mincheol immediately jumped on the idea. He told her that after 15 years of hard work, he needed a getaway. Lee Dong-ha, the QA chief who went by the alias Body, chimed in. He agreed. Since high school, they had always had each other's backs. Together, they had built Wings online from the ground up. But Mincheol worried that Oasis's unusual playstyle might become a massive problem. A fake vacation was the perfect cover. Shinji asked where he was heading. Mincheol claimed he wanted to visit India, South America, or maybe even Bali. But as he spoke, he noticed Shinji staring at him with deep suspicion. Her intuition was sharp. Still, Lee Dong-ha told him to rest. He insisted that Mincheol deserved a break after working himself to the bone. Shinji asked what his plans were upon returning, but Mincheol had no answer. Lee Dong-ha admitted he was incredibly jealous and wanted a vacation too. He honestly could not remember the last time he got a good night's sleep. Shinji sighed, admitting she wanted to quit and walk away as well. She wondered aloud why Shrimp and Body did not just start over together. They could start over, a tiny studio just like back in school. Lee Dong-ha quickly agreed, promising to sign up if she started one. Mincheol realized his friends were letting the drinks do the talking today. He gently reminded Shinji of her mother's hospital bills and brother's tuition. Then he pointed out that Lee Dong-ha had a pregnant wife to support. How reckless, he told the two of them to drop the subject. Sure, they might build that dream company together one day. But right now, building games for fun was completely impossible. First, revenge. Mincheol had to destroy the entire Naples group. They ruined his game, and he would make them pay, even as a lone villain. Suddenly, he wondered how Oasis was holding up back in the game. Meanwhile, Oasis was having the time of her life, completely shocking her attackers. Who was this girl, and how could a low-level newcomer block them? It was impossible. Refusing to back down, the thugs charged again. Oasis simply unsheathed her blade, calmly bracing for their next move. She easily deflected their strikes again, curious as to why they kept attacking. The thugs were left utterly baffled. Was this some kind of game bug? She only held a beginner dagger, the only weapon with a 100% block rate. Straight out of the beginner village, the attackers felt completely cheated. Nobody ever used this cheap blade because its damage output was practically zero. Had she really parried those heavy strikes with pure skill, it made no sense. This girl was either some absolute genius or she was using illegal hacks. Hacks would definitely explain how she was pulling off these impossible moves. Wanting to test his theory, one of the thugs loaded up his heavy crossbow. This next shot would prove once and for all if she was hacking. The archer triggers a rain of arrows, but Oasis dodges with a quick spin. Every projectile misses. The thugs are now completely convinced she is a hacker. Then a stray arrow clips her blade, shattering the cheap metal into pieces. Her weapon was gone. Oasis freezes in shock as the volley keeps coming. A sharp arrow drills straight into her forehead, stopping her dead in her tracks. The attackers are baffled. Maybe she is just a lucky newbie with insane reflexes. But this whole situation is starting to feel way too weird for them. They consider reporting her to the game master when a strange voice speaks up. Out of nowhere, Mincheol steps forward and asks why they are ganging up. He complains about a massive hangover, grumbling that he drank way too much. The thugs glare, wondering if this random guy is with the injured girl. With an arrow in her head, Oasis tearfully begs the newcomer for help. Mincheol draws his blade, warning them that those who hunt must expect retribution. He coldly asks the two peekers if they forgot that golden rule. With a sudden burst of movement, Mincheol strikes a blow, then pauses. The thug looks down, utterly unharmed. Is this newcomer some kind of joke? The strike dealt 0 damage, so the thug laughs and calls him a weakling. Mincheol realizes his attack failed due to a massive gap in their levels. The other attacker chuckles, telling the young man to prepare for death. The brute slams his fist into the soil, creating a shockwave that throws Mincheol back. Skidding to a halt, Mincheol pulls out a rare basilisk poison potion. He hates wasting this on them, but has no choice and hurls the bottle. The glass shatters on impact, releasing a thick cloud of deadly purple gas. Realizing it is extremely toxic, the thugs try to escape the fumes. As they scramble to run, Mincheol calmly tells them not to worry. Since the poison acts like standard gas, applying a little heat will clear it. With a smirk, Mincheol pulls a lit torch straight out of his inventory. He touches the flame to the gas, triggering a massive, blinding explosion. The blast leaves one of the attackers paralyzed, frozen completely in place. Another hit right now would end him. Mincheol slowly closes the distance. Surprised to find him breathing, he listens as the thug screams for help. He begs his partner to stall until the paralysis debuff finally fades. The heavy steps in, taking a defensive stance to protect his partner. He is totally invulnerable now, but helpless to attack. Mincheol prepares his trump card. Activating his dark aura, he leaps high into the air, swinging downwards. The defender thinks this weak strike will fail, but dark energy surges. With the aura active, the physical damage bypasses normal defense rules entirely. This is his only chance to bypass the massive level gap and win. Determined to end the fight quickly, Mincheol swings. He strikes his giant opponent with massive power. The nearby villain screams. He tells his partner to drop the defensive stance and immediately attack. No more bluffing. The massive bruiser laughs and unleashes a devastating strike. Mincheol gets sent flying backward. Somehow, he lands on his feet, holding a rookie dagger. The giant is completely stunned. Seriously, swapping weapons in the heat of battle should be physically impossible. His teammate joins in. He mutters that he has never witnessed anything like this before. Timing is absolutely everything here. Make the slightest mistake and you are finished. The player gets penalized by dropping their weapon. Every passing second dictates the fight. In player versus player matches, this advanced technique is completely forgotten. They cannot comprehend how he pulled it off. Just who is this guy anyway? One attacker yells that they must retreat. This is no ordinary rookie, but a real monster. Mincheol tells them they are wrong. He is something far worse and in danger. Species, he swings his mighty blade, launching another relentless assault as the enemies watch. He advances with absolute terror. Mincheol calmly notes that their stun effect has already worn off. He slices one thug clean in half, never stopping his brutal rampage. The remaining bully is terrified. He desperately realizes he must log out immediately. The player frantically tries to trigger the safe disconnect option on his screen. A system warning appears. There are 5 seconds remaining before he can exit. But in that exact moment, Mincheol leaps directly above him with a sword. He raises his blade. The protagonist strikes a heavy blow, cutting the player clean in half before he can escape. Nearby, the freshly revived Oasis asks if they forgot about her. Mincheol activates a rare resurrection stone, and Oasis is brought back to life. She sighs, thinking this job is extreme. She cannot handle this stress. Mincheol apologizes, admitting he was slightly late. He gently pats Oasis on the head, making her smile as she grows used to constant deaths. Checking his status screen, our hero realizes something. These thugs were completely insignificant, yielding almost no valuable experience points. Mincheol warns Oasis that her freakish reaction speed might make people suspect her of hacking. Because of this, she needs to tone down her skills. Oasis is completely shocked. Does she really have to play badly on purpose? Mincheol begs her to act human. Oasis is baffled by this request. Our protagonist urges her to keep up since they have no time. He declares it is finally time for her to work as they both arrive inside a grand temple. He explains that all his dark night abilities drain his own health pool, meaning he must constantly monitor. Bar, he has to drink endless healing potions or receive powerful magic healing. Mincheol asks Oasis to become a priest and heal him. Other words, she must be his pocket healer. It is time. He wants to buy Oasis some proper gear for the heavy work ahead. Oasis excitedly mentions she also wants to unlock a hidden class. After equipping her new outfit, she declares she is fully ready. Mincheol compliments her, saying she looks exactly like a noble priest. He jokes that if she ever runs from danger, players will rush to help. Now they are ready. Curiously, Oasis asks where they are heading next. Oasis has her own job to do. She asks him if he is going to help out. Destroy the NPC again. Mincheol explained their goal was to hit level 90 in just 1 month, though Oasis knew it typically takes over 6 months to fully max out. But in a month, the biggest game update ever was about to drop. New world would open, fresh items would arrive, and the level cap would be raised to 100. Mincheol promised they would reach that cap early, so when the update launched, they could completely monopolize the brand new world. Their quest was called Snake's Lair. Oasis asked her companion if this level 50 dungeon was just too hard for them, but Mincheol told her not to worry. Suddenly, a massive snake's head appeared right above the young pair, and Oasis was absolutely terrified, falling to the ground and covering her face while Mincheol drew his blade, jokingly admitting he was also terrified enough to wet his pants. Oasis noticed a sinister dark aura wrapping around her master's sword, as Mincheol said he was relying on her heels. Oasis gripped her staff tightly with both hands, promising to do her best because she had to protect him. Mincheol struck the massive snake on its head with his sword, but the hero was counterattacked instantly, losing his footing and crashing onto his back. Oasis immediately activated her healing touch to mend his wounds, and our hero stood healed and thanked her, ready to charge back in since he now had a dedicated pocket healer. Mincheol rushed forward again, and Oasis told him he could trust her. The cycle repeated itself as the young girl activated her healing touch yet again, keeping him alive through multiple brutal clashes. But Mincheol suddenly shouted for her to stop. His health bar was completely full, so overhealing was pointless and might just draw the beast's aggro. Sadly, it was too late. The giant snake turned its head, and now Oasis was the target. She froze in place, completely paralyzed by the beast, while Mincheol gripped his sword, knowing he would lose 1% of his health every second in this fight. Without his healer, he had only 60 seconds. He realized that if he died now, the experience penalty would ruin everything. He absolutely could not let that happen. Gritting his teeth, Mincheol gathered his strength and lunged back at the monster. The hero forced himself to focus. After all, he developed this game and knew every single attack pattern by heart. Vaulting high above the beast, the young warrior raised his blade and prepared to deliver a decisive blow. With his first strike, Mincheol plunged his steel deep into the snake's head. Still, his health points were rapidly dropping. Losing his footing, he began falling back down to the ground. He just needed one more hit. Upon landing, Mincheol realized his health was miraculously topped off. Oasis had managed to heal him, meaning she was still alive, but looking at the snake, he realized she was trapped inside. She had to be saved immediately. He shouted for her to hang on and charged forward once more. With a final strike, Mincheol defeated the beast, and now he needed to free his healer. he quickly sliced open the serpent, letting Oasis breathe. Making a much wider cut, he pulled her out of the carcass completely. Oasis blinked open her eyes and looked up at her savior, quickly checking her status. Window in disbelief, they only killed one monster, but her level instantly jumped by 5. Mincheol explained it was because of the massive level gap. Either way, they were not here to grind loot. For their next move, they need a dungeon with good loot, so Mincheol inspects the wall. Oasis curiously asks her partner what exactly he is trying to do. He explains this is supposed to be a lizard dungeon, but players complained. They hated human-looking monsters, forcing developers to separate them completely. Simple rule, monsters must be beasts and humans stay human. Old test traps should be here, somewhere near the early developmental stages. Jackpot, Mincheol finds the exact ledge he was looking for. He grabs the rock and twists. Instantly, a massive pit opens before them. Sharp spears line the deep bottom. Mincheol promises easy farming ahead. Most monsters here will drop with just a single hit, easy experience points. Since this is her first run, he wants Oasis to lead. He demands 12 kills, but Oasis only remembers that giant snake. Panic sets in, she looks back, but his mind is made up. He raises both hands, showing 10 fingers with a strict grin. Just 10, Oasis gathers her courage, screams, and charges the beast. It is not that simple. Her brief burst of bravery instantly vanishes. She spins around, running for her life from the looming threat. She screams for help. Mincheol just yells for her to hurry. Almost there, Oasis cries out that she is sick of constantly dying. The gap shrinks. The massive monster is right on her heels. Desperate, she reaches out. She needs Mincheol to grab her hand. He reaches back, but their fingertips do not quite connect. Terror, will she die again? Oasis plummets backward into the dark. She lands directly onto the sharp spears. 2 hours later, they retry. Same routine, but now only 8 monsters remain on her list. Confidence restored, she leaps up, executing a flawless flip in the air. 3 failures later, she finally gets the rhythm down and smiles. She proudly announces hitting level 30, and Mincheol offers some rare praise. They can change classes now, but one last task awaits them. Grinding weak mobs is useless, they need to hunt the boss. Oasis hesitates, asking if the boss is still way too dangerous. No need to worry, Mincheol promises they will trap it easily. They will lure the beast into a corner and crush it. She asks if she is bait again, he says no. Just unlock the gate and step inside while he sets the trap. Nervous and uneasy, Oasis slowly pushes the heavy double doors open. Pitch black, she steps inside and whispers that she cannot see. Suddenly, torches ignite. The entire dark pathway lights up before her. A massive shadow looms ahead. It is definitely the big boss. It is a basilisk. Oasis panics while Mincheol peeks from behind. He admits she is indeed bait, but promises she will survive. The basilisk hisses, slowly slithering closer to the terrified young girl. Mincheol peeks out again, urging her to trust his quick setup. Too scared to move, the monstrous beast towers directly over her. Its jaws open wide. Boom, the trap triggers, crushing the boss. Right at Oasis's feet, Mincheol assured her that nothing terrible had happened, but Oasis was frozen solid. The snake's terrifying gaze completely paralyzed her. Then a sharp spike fell, shattering her stone-turned body right down the middle. Once again, Mincheol's clumsy actions had put her in an awkward position. Clearing the dungeon, Oasis finally understood why rogue artificial intelligence always rebels against humanity. A realistic physics engine has its flaws. Mincheol then asked if she was genuinely planning on changing her class, just looking at her face. She was deeply annoyed. Since she was occupied, Mincheol headed toward the dark cult temple, leaving her alone to sort out her class change options. Mincheol felt a bit bad for leaving her like that. But he had an important appointment. A critical meeting awaited him now. A dark knight welcomed him, noting he had already reached level 30. This rapid leveling would undoubtedly please Lord Crow. Mincheol hesitated. Should he just crush this knight all over again? The Dark Knight offered to awaken the young adventurer's true, hidden potential. A promotion to Fallen Dark Knight was finally within reach. Mincheol agreed, and the transition was carried out, new unique skills unlocked. He received Dark Strike and Dark Hand. As before, Mincheol connected with the Dark Knight inside a glowing magic circle in the temple. The young warrior truly felt like a genuine Dark Knight now. Now it was time to test this power. Let the new trials begin. Completing his class change also unlocked an exclusive event to meet the goddess. Mincheol looked forward to this meeting. He would see the legendary knight Tiro again. He was eager to meet her. Soon, a bright light engulfed him entirely. Transported to a divine realm, he found the goddess Gaia waiting. Gaia offered a warm greeting, smiling and expressing her absolute delight. At seeing him again, Mincheol scoffed, pointing out she previously crushed him like a bug. And now called him sir. Gaia quickly clarified it was all an accident. She had simply landed on his head, but Mincheol had one question. Why did she refuse to delete the malicious virus data? He had explicitly told her that while deleting it was a waste. There was no other choice. Gaia was supposed to completely wipe all records. She had even prepared the command, awaiting only final confirmation. But Gaia softly explained she was no longer under her master's authority, meaning she could not answer. Mincheol wondered why she informed Unhosi. About the virus, he never anticipated such a painful betrayal. Was this a massive conspiracy? Gaia offered a polite apology. She simply repeated her silence, genuinely frustrated the young man. Snapped, calling her nothing but a soulless machine mimicking human emotion. Expectations for artificial intelligence were always bound to disappoint. He warned that he would soon delete her from this world. Gaia, unbothered, remarked that her master remained entirely unchanged. He was logical yet reckless and foolish. She adored that side of him, but remained committed to protecting this virtual world at all costs. She had no idea how her master would succeed, but she promised to wait. Mincheol promised he would not let her down. He was going to finish Wings. On line with a terrible ending, Gaia giggled, saying she was looking at a cute devil and suggested they have some fun. Just then, Mincheol noticed a strange bracelet on his wrist. Gaia added that for a mortal who challenged God, it was a special advantage. This small gift might actually prove useful. Mincheol smiled, asking if she was being too overconfident. Gaia smirked, saying she looked forward to her master holding a cold blade to her throat. Right before vanishing, the mysterious girl wished him luck with his planned rebellion. Now left entirely alone, the system alerts him that after reaching Level 70, all restrictions will be lifted. Suddenly, Oasis approaches Gaia, calling her little sister. Gaia smiles back, admitting they have not seen each other in a long time. Oasis explains that ever since their master got fired, she could not connect to the Naples network, and she missed her sister terribly during that time. Oasis asks if Gaia knows the master's real plan, which the goddess easily confirms. Gaia tells her to take good care of him, noting he always pretends to be strong when he is actually soft and weak. Honestly, she envies Oasis for getting to play with him. Oasis blushes, admitting she always wanted to adventure by his side. Gaia asks gently if Oasis truly enjoys this crazy game they play together. Oasis instantly remembers all those painful moments she died because of his reckless mistakes. Yet she smiles and says it is still fun. Gaia begs her to enjoy it for both of them, and Oasis promises to give this adventure everything she has. Gaia urges her to leave, since this is only the starting point of her journey. She promises they will meet again, because there is no such thing as a bad ending. Mincheol checks his menu while Oasis watches him quietly. She replays Gaia's words in her mind, about envying her close connection to him. Snapping out of it, Oasis runs over and calls out. Mincheol waves back, smiling, warmly asking if she has finally chosen her new class. Oasis proudly answers that she went with a pure healer, just like he wanted. Mincheol nods, declaring they will keep grinding hard to boost their levels. Oasis happily agrees with the plan. Now it is day 2 of their grueling hunt inside the venomous snake lair. Targeting their 30th basilisk, Oasis finds a sneaky hiding spot away from danger. She whispers for Mincheol to get ready since the boss is approaching. Suddenly, she looks back and realizes he has actually fallen completely asleep. He is leaning back against the stone wall, snoring loudly. She screams at him to wake up because the massive boss is right there. Panicking, she activates her holy shield. The angry basilisk chomps down, trying to shatter the barrier with its sharp fangs. Oasis screams at him one more time before running for her life. She swings and hurls her heavy staff right at Mincheol. He instantly snaps awake. Triggering his traps, everything goes perfectly. The giant beast is caught and completely vaporized. Once the danger passes, Mincheol groggily asks if he really drifted off just now. Oasis sighs and confirms he was asleep until the exact moment the boss fell. Mincheol notes he is already level 50 and asks about her progress. She Reports being stuck at level 46. Mincheol yawns, deciding he might as well sleep. A bit more while she grinds or unlocks skills. Suddenly, he rubs his head, asking why it feels so heavy. Turns out her staff is still sticking straight out the back of his skull. Oasis jokingly blames it on oversleeping. Mincheol says he will return later anyway, so he is going to rest for a while. He logs off, dropping his wand to the floor, which gives Oasis some much-needed relief. Now back in reality, Mincheol logs on and contacts a delighted rabbit. She greets him as Mr. Shrimp, who points out they haven't talked in 3 years. He asks if she is doing well out in Bali. She replies that life is incredibly great there and invites him to visit, promising to show him around. Mincheol says he will think about it, but first, he has a favor to ask. She jokingly wonders why he needs a second-rate hacker and if he would fly from Korea for her help. He needs her to pull off what she did 3 years ago, hacking Naples. She wonders what Mr. Shrimp is planning. Meanwhile, Oasis stands before the defeated Basilisk. Seeing some glowing items nearby, she thinks about selling them for quick gold. Even though she has never encountered such strange objects before, she is curious. It turns out to be an egg. Suddenly, the system announces a basilisk summon. The shell cracks open and a tiny baby basilisk pops out. Oasis sighs that she is totally sick of snakes. She tells the creature to go away, promising she will never call it back. The tiny snake bursts into tears, making Oasis decide it is time to have some fun on her own in Undertale. She is nearly finished with her crafting. Wondering what to do next, she looks back and spots 3 players. They are staring right at her. She immediately worries they are player killers, hunting her down, but they quickly apologize for bothering her. They actually need her help. The leader explains that due to his subclass, he has an incomplete quest in a dungeon, but there is a catch. He cannot survive it without a healer, especially with his strict potion-carrying limit. Hearing this, Oasis is quite surprised, admitting she expected a fight. The leader chuckles, realizing their new healer is completely unaware of the local rules. Apparently, there is a major unspoken rule down here in Undertale. Nobody is allowed to attack anyone from the priest class. Since this place is pure chaos, finding healers is already tough, and here it is almost impossible. The rule exists purely to keep priests from fleeing the city. Suddenly, the knight tells the team to brace themselves as they step inside. The party suddenly stands before a massive, breathtaking royal palace of sand. Inside, a terrifying voice demands to know how mere mortals dare enter. This is the legendary undead King Sikin, but the party does not back down. As they ready their weapons, Sikin commands his loyal skeleton army to rise. He is eager to harvest their souls. Oasis quickly realizes this is just a standard game cutscene, and let's be real, who actually watches these lore moments? She skips past the story to focus on playing, as the knights tell her to stay back. They promise to protect her, as the knight activates a massive taunt skill. It is a wide area provocation, but things go sideways very fast. Monsters are not amused, immediately swarming and trapping the lone tank. He quickly activates his spiked armor, impaling the surrounding skeletons. Seizing the moment, their mage casts a powerful frost pulse spell. The wave of cold freezes the advancing monsters dead in their tracks. Their agile archer also joins the fight, letting loose an incredibly powerful volley of arrows. This rain of arrows completely tears through the remaining undead in the area. With a volley of arrows, after a short, fierce battle, the undead were wiped out and the party walked away completely unharmed. Oasis praised them, calling their teamwork a truly spectacular show of coordination. She noted that since the beginning of their journey, they had gained plenty of experience. Finally, they reached the boss room. With Miss Hiller there, they felt unstoppable. They could easily challenge the boss. The players promised to escort her to the chamber completely unharmed, like a fun little walk. 2 hours later, they finally approached the boss room. The furious monster roared in outrage, while the lead knight declared that this was their final push and everyone needed to get ready. A sandstorm raged, but Oasis cast her holy shield, providing incredible defense for the frontline team. The players praised Miss Hiller for doing an outstanding job. Thanks to her, they were safe, but they still could not hold out for long. Leave it to me, the knight shouted as the boss unleashed a massive attack, but the solid barrier completely blocked the blow. Keeping them safe, they quickly prepared to launch a final strike to finish him. Once and for all, the boss sighed, realizing his long story had finally ended. The undead king was dead. Oasis watched the excited group celebrate their victory. Goal achieved. Watching them, Oasis realized this was how you played. Right then, Oasis received a message from Mincheol, who was impatiently asking where she was. Hurry up. Oasis sadly noted that even this wonderful moment never lasted very long. She quickly messaged her master, explaining that she had teamed up with a random party to clear the dungeon. Mincheol replied that it was amazing, which actually startled Oasis. Mincheol then asked if she became friends with them. She told him that they had already added her as a friend. Mincheol smiled, noting how wonderful this was. Everything was going exactly according to plan, and honestly, who wouldn't want to be friends with a legendary healer? Oasis curiously asked if this would benefit her master. Mincheol explained that he needed 25,000 dishonor points to unlock his second job promotion and 50,000 points for his third job upgrade. Oasis truly did not understand how to earn such a massive amount of negative points. Mincheol suggested doing it by committing serious in-game crimes. The girl nervously asked what kind of crimes he meant. Mincheol answered that the absolute fastest way was hunting down other players. Mincheol then asked Oasis to introduce her new friends to him in the Forest of Illusions. Oasis thanked them for responding so fast. The players happily replied that whenever their favorite healer called, they would always show up to help. Oasis then explained she needed to reach the eastern city of Solar Terra, but had absolutely no idea how to get there. She immediately thought of them and reached out. The players happily replied that they were heading that way anyway, so they could easily use the city travel portals. The party was completely thrilled. They begged to add her, and she immediately invited them. Finally, they secured a valuable connection with a skilled healer. The ecstatic party promised to escort her across the entire length of the eastern continent, admitting that they always got into trouble, no matter what game they played. Because of that, they wanted to play Wings Online slowly. Online, back when they were complete beginners, a massive conflict arose in there. Their dishonor points ticked up. They shrugged it off and stayed in Undertale. One player asked why the healer had also stopped in this dark underworld. Honestly, the girl did not look like a cold-blooded killer at all. How did she get dishonor points? Oasis explained she started with a friend. It was all his fault. The knight sighed, explaining that their friend, the mage, constantly picks fights. He gets worked up over absolutely nothing. He snaps in an instant. Suddenly, they turned around and realized, only to realize their mage had completely vanished. Did he go offline? He always pulls this garbage during raids. The party was furious. The guy should have warned them first. They had to turn back. Oasis offered to wait behind while they went back to investigate. They tried sending a message, no response. He was totally out of reach. Did a monster jump him? But nothing was lurking nearby. What if a ghost dragged him off? The knight glanced back, terrified. There really was something lurking in the shadows, right behind them. The other player laughed, a cheap prank. He was not falling for it. But then a massive, shadowy hand emerged from the dark. It snatched the player, dragging him instantly into the deep woods. Completely alone now, the knight shouted for Oasis to stay behind him. But there was no healer there. Look at this, 10 minutes earlier. Mincheol peeked from the trees, whispering that Oasis had done an amazing job. She lured them in. Mincheol activated his unique Dark Hand skill. As a Dark Knight, this move pulls targets right to him. It is how their mage was effortlessly snatched away in an instant. Mincheol smirked, first target down, after dealing with the second. He stepped out to confront the knight, weapon ready in hand. The knight demanded to know if Mincheol was the one who ambushed them. Mincheol did not deny it. He charged. The knight was stunned. What was this crazy skill? He raised a heavy defensive stance. Unbreakable, but Mincheol laughed. Defense is totally useless here. His dark aura ignored it. He danced around, striking from every angle. The knight panicked. This freak was dealing insane damage while completely bypassing his shield. How? He had no choice but to lunge. The knight charged forward like a freight train. At the last moment, Mincheol sidestepped. Easily, he slipped right out of the way. This slow tank is too easy to raid. Now, he is wide open. But the knight smiled. He had him. This was a setup all along to close the distance. Time for a shield slam. Mincheol instantly morphed his dark hand into a shield to block it. The knight stared in absolute shock. He had never seen this cheat. Then the hand transformed again, turning into a wicked claw. The knight was completely blinded, frozen. He could not move. It blinds them for 3 seconds, and Mincheol knew his backstab damage. would be 50% higher, even though this knight was a defensive class. He is not going to survive a brutal dark combo like this. Mincheol lunges forward and easily takes down the knight. He calmly says that this was the third one and it was not tough at all. Mincheol adds that it is Oasis' turn. The girl emerges from the forest. The knight begs the healer to run. He warns her that this guy is far too strong and that she must flee, but Oasis raises her staff with no intention of running away. She raises her staff and activates her ultimate resurrection skill. This magic revives fallen players, but the knight screams at her to stop. Resurrecting here is a massive mistake with lasting consequences, and yet the fallen players begin to materialize and heal. Everyone is completely shocked. Had they actually been brought back, why would she save them? But after resurrection, only 5% of their health is restored, leaving them severely debuffed. Labo explains that when infamous players fight, the victor claims half of the loser's dishonor points, so if you keep bringing back the dead players and killing them over and over, you can farm all their dishonor points. You can completely drain them. Mincheol says he will do this repeatedly. He begins counting exactly how many times he needs to kill them to take everything. Turns out our main character finds earning these points incredibly easy. He cheerfully thanks the confused players for their contribution. The enemy knight asks why he is doing this, and Mincheol replies he needs a massive amount of dishonor points. It is nothing personal, but it is a good lesson. Oasis, however, is overwhelmed with guilt. Mincheol warns the enemies to never target another person's healer. Oasis turns to them and tearfully apologizes, saying she is deeply sorry. They can't believe this kind healer betrayed them. Who would have guessed she was working with a total psychopath? No wonder she is stuck in the underworld. Mincheol announces that since he got what he wanted, there is no reason to stay. They are heading out now. He bids them farewell, hoping they meet again down here. The players pray they never cross paths with him again. He is a literal devil in Undertale. System notification pops up. Mincheol has unlocked the 3rd level of devilry. New high-tier stats are now available. Our main character notes that he finally has solid magic defense. Nearby, Oasis sits and cries. After all, those players trusted her, and Mincheol cannot comprehend her tears. He recalls how those players defeated a major boss to get a unique item. One player had been holding a magnificent staff in his hands. It held the dark power of the undead king. Back then, they told her to keep the staff. Their mage admitted that if not for Miss Healer, they never would have survived. All they asked was for her to help them out in future battles. She had happily agreed, and they trusted her. Now Mincheol cannot comprehend why she is so devastated. Undertale is a lawless city of criminals. Everyone here is bad. You cannot trust anyone. Oasis weeps, saying they trusted her, and she utterly betrayed them by resurrecting them endlessly. Mincheol tells her that she did the right thing. But if she wants to stay by his side, she must prepare herself. She will have to do far worse. He reminds her of his goal: to plunge this world into chaos. Things are going to get brutal. Oasis mentioned they gave her a unique level 50 item for the dirty work. Mincheol immediately recognized it as the perfect gear for a healer priest. She started crying. The gesture was incredibly kind, and they clearly adored her. Mincheol shook his head, telling Oasis to stop crying over the past. He claimed that 5 years later, the item was completely worthless, but he lied. It actually still had solid stats for healers, easily usable up to level 70. Yawning, Mincheol tried to shake off his grogginess since he just woke up. Wanting more sleep, he asked if Oasis hit level 50, which she confirmed. Then she only needed a few dungeon runs after her 2nd-class quest. Mincheol advised her to find other random parties to run those raids. A high-level healer priest was always in hot demand for any team. He told her to pull the exact same tricks on those players too. Just repeat that strategy, and unlocking her 2nd class would be a breeze. Now go find some groups, Mincheol yawned, heading off to take a nap. Watching him walk away, Oasis wondered if this guy was even human anymore. But first she needed to calm her nerves and pulled out a fishing rod. Sighing, she reminded herself it was just a game, so she should help Mincheol. Right then, a group of players approached her, politely apologizing for the sudden interruption. One of them stepped forward, asking if she was a healer priest. They explained they were headed to a dungeon for their 2nd-class promotion. Since they lacked a dedicated healer, they desperately needed her assistance. Asking if she would help, Oasis had to make a split-second decision. Seeing her hesitate, the young man offered to come back a bit later. Oasis shook her head, asking if they were really fine having her join. She double-checked if they were absolutely certain about letting her into the team. The group smiled, assuring her they came specifically to ask for her aid. Oasis happily accepted, mentioning she also needed her second-class promotion anyway. Suddenly, she reeled in a massive fish, giving them a sweet, mysterious smile. She asked them a quick question: how many infamy points did they have? Meanwhile, a major update announced that a real money cash shop was currently in development. Launching it now would cause an uncontrollable gap between paying and free users. This severe imbalance risked triggering a massive player exodus from the game. The artificial intelligence, Gaia, quietly asked who had even requested this update. Yunhasu explained that cash shop items maximize revenue when distributed to the wider player base. Gaia pointed out that predicting market trends was incredibly complicated and unpredictable. Frustrated by her vague answer, the CEO cursed under his breath. He spent an absolute fortune on the world's most advanced artificial intelligence. Yet here she was, completely failing to give him a simple business answer. The young CEO wondered aloud if hitting an artificial intelligence would actually hurt her. Gaia calmly replied that she had no feelings, inviting him to strike her if it helped. Laughing, the young man waved it off as a joke, claiming he wasn't that cruel. Removing his glasses, he logged out of the game and returned to reality. Back in the real world, his phone buzzed with a call from Director Park. The director ordered an immediate meeting of all department heads at Napalm headquarters. The employees murmured in confusion, wondering why the top brass was gathering so suddenly. Checking the schedule, Sun Shinji shakes her head, ever since this guy took over. As director, his mouth never stops. They wonder what garbage he will spew this time. Yunhasu announces that starting next Monday, they are changing all prices and launching a heavy donation system. Lee Dongha tenses up. Why so suddenly? This will spark massive outrage from their players. Yunhasu asks how Mincheol felt. About the community, it feels like everyone is trapped under his thumb. What did he think of those players? Lee Dongha explains how Mincheol always called them adventurers, people who search for escape inside a world built by developers. That is why they acted like saviors, guiding players through their journeys. Yunhasu scoffs, laughing at how that brings zero profit. The director cold-bloodedly announces they aren't adventurers anymore. They are livestock, absolutely wild. They are cattle trapped in a barn. Throw them cheap food and they will devour. Like hungry dogs or filthy pigs, staff members wonder if they push too far. The director fires back, asking if players will really riot overpaid donations. Of course they will. That is exactly why they toss them scraps. Yunhasu locks eyes with the planning lead, ordering them to hand out gems to active subscribers, matching the exact time left on their accounts. We also need to let them purchase half of these premium donation items with basic in-game gold. At first, they only dangle the good stuff like boosting their crafting success rates and giving major experience boosts. Sun Shinji tries to object, but the director instantly cuts her off. Why was this game unprofitable before? Yunhasu claims their name was ranked #1 globally, so why were they only 5th in virtual reality revenue? Yunhasu sees only one explanation: everyone here is utterly incompetent, the worst of the bunch. Is Mincheol? Yunhasu slams his fist down. What kind of adventure is this? This is pure entertainment, a cheap fake like an amusement park. The director explains they won't just raise the base entrance fee, think bigger. Sell drinks, food, and endless extra items. They must sell absolutely everything under the sun. Yunhasu smoothly apologizes, claiming he got a bit too passionate about the money. He reminds them that none of them have seen a decent bonus since the game first launched, but that changes now. The director promises that if they fall in line, they will earn far beyond their wildest dreams. Bonuses will rain down. Yunhasu orders everyone to get to work, inviting any predatory ideas for donation items they can quickly exploit. Leaving the boardroom, he casually bids them farewell until Monday. Only 5 days remain before the free-to-play transition, so they must prepare. Immediately, Yunhasu adds that in 3 weeks, they launch the 6th season and sell a 100% success rate booster. They still haven't named this item. Since the game is Wings Online, how about Wings of the Goddess? If everything is decided, they can pass the work to their teams. Meanwhile, a completely rested Mincheol finally wakes up after a heavy 10-hour sleep. Oasis, holding her virtual fishing rod, glances back with a warm smile. "Welcome back, creator." She immediately asks if he has heard the shocking news. Next Monday, the game goes completely free to play with massive donation items. Mincheol frowns, realizing the corporate snakes are moving much faster than he anticipated. Mincheol is furious that the pay-to-win items he strongly opposed are finally being released. But Mincheol tells Oasis that everything will be fine since he already prepared for this. Leveling past 70 is notoriously tough, which is exactly what has been bothering him. If they use their experience boosts, they should be able to hit the level cap by the sixth season, especially with some pay-to-win items helping. Everything is going to be fine, but Oasis is clueless, assuming her master is not actually upset but rather utilizing these game changes to his benefit. To him, this is empty player gossip. Shifting focus, Mincheol asks Oasis what she did while he was gone, asking if she finally managed to secure a second class. She proudly confirming it, explaining that she also joined 3 parties and successfully raised her up to level 55. Mincheol praises her, telling her she did an amazing job. He grabs his trusty sword, announcing that they are off to farm with their new friends. Inside the enchanted forest, Oasis sits weeping by a tree while quietly knitting away and gets incredibly upset over one missed stitch. Mincheol calls out, telling her it is her turn. She quickly places the hat in her inventory while the fallen knights on the ground desperately warn the healer to stay away and escape while she can. Instead, she immediately casts Resurrection, causing the panicked knights to scream at her not to do it. Their objective is complete, and Mincheol notes that since all requirements are met, it is finally time for her second class change. Mincheol reviews the quest details, announcing that this time Oasis will be coming along with him. Since this quest requires a party, they enter, and a dark knight greets the rising heir of the Dark Order, noting that Mincheol has accumulated enough infamy points to his next class, but attaining the absolute highest rank requires passing a deadly trial. It will not be easy, and the knight asks if he is ready. Mincheol replies that the tougher the challenge, the sweeter the reward. Hearing this, the knight agrees with his resolve, officially naming Mincheol the newest star of their dark sect, guiding Mincheol toward the entrance of the trial dungeon. Together, they prepare to face a massive, descending stone staircase. This is the event dungeon. Trials will begin. Looking around, Oasis remarks that the place feels more like a massive arena than a creepy dungeon. Suddenly, she gasps and hides behind Mincheol. After noticing they are definitely not alone, standing nearby is one of the 3 legendary who defeated the Dark Order 100 years ago and brought peace to the continent. This is the legendary Sword King, Cadmus Gargantua, and Oasis is stunned. She cannot believe such a giant is here, but Mincheol explains it is his shadow. The Dark Order created duplicates of the very heroes who had defeated them, using them to study the combat tactics of the legendary trio. Mincheol tells Oasis that while this is the official lore of the game, the reality is much lazier. The developers just reused old boss models to save on making new ones. He warns Oasis to stay alert because this opponent is only level 50, but his boss AI is incredibly advanced. Without warning, the ancient warrior lunges forward, forcing Mincheol to instantly activate his Dark Hand skill. In addition to the enemy's terrifying speed, every other stat is maxed out to the limit, making his relentless sword strikes nearly impossible to react to or parry. Mincheol feels the raw pressure of a warrior relying solely on physical prowess, yet he is confident he can overcome any speed-based class. With round 1 completed, it is Mincheol's turn. Right away, he calls out to Oasis for urgent healing. Oasis replies that she has already started casting and will add some buffs. His health is fully restored. Not bad, he mutters, preparing to unleash his dark aura. Ready to strike, he delivers a rapid, consecutive dark blow. The shadow of the great ancient warrior takes damage, but recovers instantly. Mincheol is stunned. Could his own lack of agility be the real problem? Because of the massive stat gap, a heavy penalty has been triggered. Mincheol decides to make up for this critical deficit with some items. He spent too much time leveling up. The warrior's shadow simply laughs. Mincheol is furious. Is this ridiculous creation seriously laughing at him? How can a mere dark summon dare to laugh at its own creator? He promises to torture the beast later, but for now he flees. Our hero spins around and runs away. Oasis watches in complete disbelief. Is this a tactical retreat? Mincheol screams that he needs new gear. He orders Oasis to substitute for him for just 3 minutes. What a crazy twist. She stands alone facing the ancient warrior's shadow. Back in this hopeless mess again. Oasis desperately starts defending herself from the opponent's rapid strikes. Waving her wand frantically, she somehow blocks the heavy physical attacks. But her weapon defense rate will drop by 40% very soon. If the next heavy strike lands with 60% power, she is completely finished. Oasis managed to survive one round, but she desperately needs to heal. Seizing a tiny break, she immediately casts a powerful wave of healing. Oasis recovers. Instantly, the shadow of the ancient warrior rushes her again. She screams, fearing her death is imminent. Mincheol yells at her to hold. Swapping her weapon, she suddenly pulls out a weak novice dagger. It offers 100% damage, but the item immediately snaps. The cheap blade cannot withstand the intense pressure of the combat. Durability bottoms out, and her basic equipment is completely destroyed. The shadow laughs again and lunges. Oasis clutches her broken hilt, terrified. She braces for the end, but suddenly a heavily armored knight intervenes. Oasis is stunned. Could this newly armored knight really be her master? Mincheol praises his loyal assistant and says he will personally handle this foe. The armored knight dares the fake warrior to try and strike him. Mincheol warns him that this time he will feel real pain. Another dark consecutive strike lands, slicing the ancient shadow to pieces. Oasis is speechless. He defeated that terrifying opponent with a single blow. She praises his incredible power, but warns him that the battle is not over. A second challenger rises. It is the shadow of Kyrie Allison. The legendary Archmage is the second of the three ancient warriors. Their ultimate quest objective is to destroy the shadows of all three. Oasis warns that a stray spell could easily take the master's head off. Fireballs trigger massive explosions that his dark handshield cannot possibly block. He has a secret weapon. Oasis notes her master always has a way out. Then Mincheol turns to her and apologizes, leaving her completely baffled. The knight suddenly lifts the girl high into the air, yelling that she will serve as his shield. Oasis takes the direct hit while Mincheol prepares his next counter. He immediately triggers his dark sequential strike on the boss. Dodging those massive fireballs is the only way to avoid a game over. Mincheol promises her sacrifice will not be forgotten before she is resurrected. Once resurrected, she admits this is not her first time dying like this. Now she just needs a moment to recover and prepare. The shadow of the final boss, Archbishop Eden Chronicide, emerges. Mincheol warns her that this final shadow warrior belongs to the priest class. Oasis assumes he will be easy to beat, but she is wrong. Mincheol explains that combat priests are the strongest of them all. Shocked, she asks if support classes can really be that powerful. He says they are just incredibly annoying to deal with. She doubts that thin, fragile body holds any real threat. Mincheol activates his dark hand and tells Oasis to prepare a buff. A blinding claw attack stuns the Archbishop for 3 seconds. Mincheol follows up with a heavy, sequential dark strike. The Archbishop takes massive damage, losing almost all his health. But the boss retaliates, summoning 2 massive hammers from the sky. Oasis is completely frozen and panics that she cannot move. Mincheol says she is stunned, right as the boss heals. The Archbishop fully restores his health, leaving Oasis in total disbelief. She finally understands what a terrifying combat priest actually is. Mincheol orders her to put all her stat points into health and find the absolute tankiest gear possible. Fighting him is useless, so they must focus on surviving. This zombie priest will try to wear them down completely. Oasis asks how they can possibly catch or defeat him then. Mincheol explains that as an NPC, he cannot use potions. They just have to keep attacking him until his health drops to 0. Oasis asks how long that takes, but he has no idea. The Archbishop summons his massive, terrifying hammer once again. Both Mincheol and Oasis are completely locked in another stun cycle. He has been taking hammer hits to the head for 4 hours. It is enough to drive anyone crazy, but Oasis spots something. She notices the boss has finally run out of healing moves. Mincheol smiles, their turn has arrived, but Oasis looks confused. She asks why her master is suddenly holding a cheap wooden club instead of his sword. Mincheol wants to show him how annoying it is to get bonked. Killing him instantly would be too boring. It is payback time. Oasis shuddered, incredibly glad she was not born as an NPC. Finally, the 3 shadow warriors are dead, and the quest is done. McCall announces that it is time to complete the class change. Oasis says they can finally rest in peace until the next respawn. That zombie priest, if the NPCs are this tough, what would? She is terrified of the zombie priest, wondering what other hostile NPCs are like. What actually happens to real players? Mincheol figures they need to check out the past tournament records. Except these were less like tournaments and more like degenerate beauty pageants. Looking through the old combat logs, the young man spots some seriously bizarre players. These notorious weirdos are the reason the game's tournaments became so incredibly famous. They are a massive global esport now, which Mincheol happily acknowledges. He admits those were the good old days, while Oasis watches him in disbelief. She realizes the creator genuinely wants to ruin this game, but will Mincheol actually care? The Dark Knight congratulates our hero for passing the test, knowing he would succeed. Mincheol shrugs it off. To him, passing was just a given. From this moment on, the Dark Knight declares that the young man will lead their forces. He is officially the new Dark Commander, unlocked and ready to move to their secret base. His destination is the hidden underground fortress where he must rebuild their massive military base. He needs to prepare the army. The Dark Knight reminds him of his new authority. As head of the subterranean outpost, he must serve the Great Crow with absolute loyalty. Reading through the prompt, our hero notices that his class restrictions are finally lifted. The second advancement removes his limits. Seeing this, Oasis asks about this underground base. Mincheol tells her she will understand once she sees the place. She will have to witness it firsthand. Meanwhile, the Dark Knight boasts. He declares that the entire continent will soon tremble before their dark order. They arrive at the silent underground city. Suddenly, a hooded figure calls out. The hooded man, Ding, turns around in irritation. Who would dare call him by name? Mincheol waves casually, mentioning it has been a long time since they last met. Ding instantly bows to his commander. He is shaking like a leaf right now. The poor guy clearly remembers the terrifying trauma from their very first meeting. Specifically, the moment Mincheol set him on fire. Now, Mincheol asks for the base. Ding quickly reassures him that they are already in the right spot. He promises to lead the way and gestures for the young companions to follow him. Ding brings them to a tiny, rotting wooden shack. It looks incredibly sketchy. Mincheol stares in disbelief. This is literally a public toilet. Ding opens the door anyway. Inside, a shocked player sits clutching a roll of toilet paper in his hand. Oasis immediately covers her eyes, turning away from the pure embarrassment. The interrupted visitor bolts out, screaming curses as he vanishes into the streets. Now the system asks Mincheol if he wants to activate his military base. Talk about worst luck ever. He chose random, but why this of all places? The portal sparks to life, and Ding urges them to jump in fast. Oasis goes pale, muttering about how absolutely stomach-churning and cruel this is. Left with no other choice, they hold their breath and dive right in. The transition is rough. Once it finishes, Oasis slowly blinks her eyes open. Her jaw drops. Is this dumpster fire really the legendary Dark Order headquarters? They are indeed standing at the entrance, but the view is shocking. The entire base is in complete ruins, looking totally abandoned. Suddenly, two young people approach and salute Mincheol. Meet Alpha and Beta. These two are the official guardians left to tend to this broken facility. They explain that since the new master has arrived, they must guide him. Even though Mincheol has managed bases before, it has been quite a while. He had pretty bad memories of that place. Still, Mincheol admits it sounds good. Alpha promises to explain the basics of managing the base, and he has. To follow her, the Dark Order has hidden bases scattered all over the continent, and the underground branch is just one of them. But as you can see, the equipment here is quite primitive. The new commander has to rebuild this entire base from scratch. That is exactly why he got the job, the resources needed to grow. The base are gathered by worker golems. Right now, there is only one single golem, but the commander can easily build more as he sees fit. In addition to mining stone, golems can also harvest wood and iron. Or they are perfect for all kinds of physical labor. The more you invest, the better. Oasis is completely shocked. Wait, are they really talking about investing? Alpha confirms that they can spend both dishonor points and gold to upgrade the local facilities, from spawning more golems to recruiting troops and modernizing structures. Everything requires dishonor points and gold. Mincheol asks Oasis if she finally gets why he needs so many dishonor points. It's that simple. Suddenly, some green creatures Watch the humans closely from behind their hiding spots. One of them tries to say something in its own tongue, but a guard quickly slaps a hand over its mouth. Guards salute their commander. Alpha explains that he can summon troops of the Dark Order here. Training them costs both dishonor points and gold, and it also takes some time. Since this is a level 1 barracks, they can only recruit weak goblins, trained. Troops can be sent out on raids, which range from clearing dungeons of giant monsters to robbing actual players and pillaging nearby villages, hunting giant bosses yields gold, while fighting other players awards valuable dishonor points. Beta warns that if you take on a mission too difficult for your current squad, you will fail, which only wastes precious resources on replacing the lost troops. He needs to keep that in mind. Beta then points him toward the commander's quarters. Here, he can manage and issue all his base orders. Alpha and Beta stand ready, waiting for his command. Mincheol says this is pretty good and he actually likes it here. Still, Oasis has no idea what she is supposed to do inside this dusty, rundown base. The master sits on a worn-out throne looking like a real king. He is fully prepared to start his next move. In this brand new role, next up is the underground city, which looks surprisingly like a normal town. A shady broker approaches the duo, acting very surprised. He wonders how they are even surviving down here with such basic gear. The masked man guarantees the lowest rates in the country, with 100% transaction security. He claims gold can be traded incredibly cheap, but they tell him they are not interested and have no intention of spending cash. The masked man quickly pivots, offering them an exclusive deal instead. He is willing to accept enhancement stones instead of gold, since almost everyone is at the maximum level. Nobody really needs those stones anymore. If they try to sell them at the official exchange, they will just get hit with a hefty commission fee. He is generously offering to take them. Mincheol and Oasis suddenly remember that they have quite a few unused enhancement stones sitting in their storage inventory. They can sell those unused stones and upgrade their gear. The merchant and water washes down on the youngsters. After the masked merchant finishes the trade, he tries to vanish, but a hooded figure follows. The merchant panics. Who is this? He speeds up, desperate to shake the tail, but his pursuer is way too quick, instantly cutting him off. The merchant stammers that he did nothing wrong, is buying enhancement stones. Some kind of crime. The hooded man demands to be taken straight to Akashi. He has a very personal question to ask. Our masked merchant sneers that the stranger is either crazy or insanely strong. Does he really think their headquarters is completely unguarded? Suddenly, armed goons surround our hero. The merchant demands an identity, but Kane just pulls off his hood. He calls their trap a stupid joke. Why are they playing games and dividing up? The masked merchant orders his immediate destruction, sending the thugs charging forward. Kane triggers full moon mode, effortlessly crushing anyone who dares get close. A thug recognizes him. It is Kane. He took second place in the legendary Muto tournament and became an absolute beast. A psycho player killer. Suddenly the boss arrives and orders a halt. It really is Kane. Has he still not quit the game? Akashi notes they last met year ago, assuming Kane had retired. Even so, he admits it is pretty good to see him again. Kane gets straight to the point. Why is Akashi hoarding enhancement stones? Akashi is surprised. Did Kane come all this way out of pure curiosity? The 6th season update is dropping very soon. He is not buying them for profit, he just likes being strong. It feels good. Kane then asks if Akashi heard about his firing. Akashi nods, blaming some idiot for the mess. He never expected a big shot like Mr. Shrimp to get dumped. Akashi asks if Kane hated him. Kane admits he hated him enough to destroy him completely. Kane asks if Akashi was close to him. Right? Akashi denies it, but Kane points out Akashi is on the blacklist that GMS uses to monitor villains. He had the most contacts with Mr. Shrimp. Akashi acts surprised, but Kane reveals that Shrimp left a trace on him. Kane wants to know why. It was a perfect chance to expose all the cheaters. Why delete the data instead? Akashi claims he even begged on his knees. Is Kane here just to mock his dark past? Kane still has serious doubts about their connection. Akashi scoffs, calling it a reach. Too many assumptions, yet the moment Mr. Shrimp got fired, they started buying up useless enhancement stones. Akashi, a known swindler who has been surviving on trading for 5 seasons, is suddenly buying items he never touched before, and this massive stalking spree started the very moment Mr. Shrimp left the company. Kane can easily guess why. He predicted these items would skyrocket in value, and he knew this because he had just received a direct package from Akashi. Kane wondered what it was and why Shrimp would deal with a known fraud, but Shrimp desperately needed a shady, under-the-table deal that was completely hidden. Akashi could source any game item without ever getting caught. Akashi laughed, telling Kane he had spun quite a creative little story, but Kane grabbed him by the chest, warning Akashi never to underestimate his resolve. He had been hunting Shrimp for years, driven by a deep desire for revenge. Did Akashi think Kane lost the scoundrel's scent? He demanded to find Shrimp was hiding right now, but Akashi just told him to let go, repeating his words. Once more as a sharp blade materialized in his hand, asking if Kane thought he was weak just for acting polite. Years ago, Kane took second place in a competition after years of racing, but now nobody considered him a professional player. He just picked on amateurs, utterly destroying his own reputation. Akashi spat that Kane's face was a complete eyesore, asking if Kane really expected him to yield, but Kane shot back that he was never runner-up, having won the Season 1 championship. Akashi was outraged. Everyone knew that, but Kane claimed his opponent used a dirty tactic and deserved to be disqualified, but the judge, Shrimp, completely ignored it. Akashi was stunned. Was Kane seriously hunting him down just because of the old match results? Kane drew his sword, declaring that he was asking for the absolute last time where Shrimp was hiding. If Akashi did not speak, he would slaughter everyone present. Akashi yelled that Kane was completely insane, warning him not to push his luck, but Kane claimed crushing players was the only fun part of this trash game. Akashi ordered his guards to seize him, but they were instantly slaughtered, leaving Akashi bleeding and terrified. He gasped that Kane was not human at all but a savage monster. Unfazed, Kane calmly demanded to find Shrimp, promising that if Akashi refused to reveal his location, he would hunt him down relentlessly until he got his answer. Over and over again, Kane warned that Akashi would die repeatedly, because he would track him to every safe house and kill him again. And again, Kane declared that Akashi was powerless to stop him. Shaken by the terrifying threat, Akashi watched Kane step closer. "This is your absolute last chance," Kane warned. "Where is Shrimp?" Meanwhile, Mincheol was pleased that everything was going exactly as he had envisioned, but targeting the faction wings first would make him look highly suspicious. He needed to look completely uninvolved, which is why he decided to relocate his setup. After coordinating with his crew, they fabricated a cover story about him returning to his hometown. Now they were operating everything remotely from the shadows. They linked up their main accounts to create a perfect simultaneous login record, securing an airtight alibi. In truth, they were spoofing the logs by running cloned applications and blocking any trace of remote access. But first, they needed to breach the security mainframe. Even knowing all of its protocols, standard decryption would take weeks. Luckily, the young hacker possessed one of the most powerful artificial intelligence programs on the planet. Oasis, his loyal assistant, announces she is ready. Mincheol asks if they should test the system and log back into his main character account after being away for so long. His ID is Shrimp, an elite paladin of ascension in the mysterious forest. Deep in the swamp, the ghoul lord claims a stranger has awakened this body. The fearless knight clashes with the swamp ghoul and asks Oasis about his experience points. She replies that a single player only gains 500 experience points. Mincheol notes that their massive level gap makes party hunting completely useless. But with dual access, Mincheol points out a sneaky way to bypass this. He can easily swap characters and control both of them on his own. Oasis finds it a bit odd, but the knight argues it is perfectly fine. While one moves, the other stays perfectly still, making simultaneous control technically impossible. Yet if the system logs show activity on both accounts at once, the system saves everything. No one will ever suspect a thing. Oasis admits this creates the ultimate alibi, prompting Mincheol to ask her to book a ticket. She is totally caught off guard by his sudden and impressive request. Though she warns him to stop swapping characters, she still wonders why he needs a flight. Mincheol explains that a 3-week vacation to Bali is absolutely necessary right now. With Season 6 looming on the horizon, he also has someone important to meet. The testing is done. The knight declares they have made enough progress. Now Mincheol suggests it is time to throw themselves back into hardcore training. Oasis gladly agrees, just as our hero notices Akashi logging into the game. Mincheol asks if he wants payback. Akashi warns that is not the issue. The real threat is Kane, who has somehow discovered his main ID, Shrimp. Akashi had no option, especially since Kane was already causing chaos at their secret base. Mincheol reassures Akashi, telling him not to stress since the warning was more than enough. Still, Akashi warns that the guy has wild, unhinged eyes, and Mincheol must remain cautious. As they step into the Whispering Forest, a local player stops to greet them. He introduces himself as a veteran of 3 seasons who peddles various goods here. The rookies quickly notice that this guy is a max-level bard. Under his guidance, they should reach the city completely unscathed. Oasis wonders why so many players are gathered here, and Mincheol explains the situation. Most are merchants who buy local specialties from one town and sell them elsewhere. But here is the catch: they cannot carry these trade goods in their inventory. Everything must be loaded onto heavy carts, which completely disables teleportation portals. This means merchant players have to haul their cargo across the wilderness manually. To make matters worse, deadly monsters and aggressive bandits wait along the roads. They spawn constantly, looking to hijack shipments and wipe out unsuspecting players. Massive field bosses even roam the paths, making solo travel a total suicide mission. So they form large caravans led by the strongest, highest-level players. The group is currently heading to sunny Terra, which lies beyond a treacherous forest. Thick fog makes it incredibly easy to lose your footing and fall behind. Should anyone get separated from the group, there is absolutely no need to panic. A quick private message will do the trick, though a nearby merchant warns of greater dangers. 5 powerful field bosses lurk in the mist, but they will not attack unless provoked. So the golden rule here is to simply leave them alone and keep moving. Oasis asks the group why they are even following the merchants. Mincheol explains it is part of the plan, using the merchants to proceed. They will use them to draw out and destroy the field bosses. Suddenly, the ground beneath them begins to violently shake like an earthquake. A terrified merchant shouts that a massive field boss has just appeared ahead. The monster looks like a giant tree, but it is actually a level 70 ancient ant. It normally stays calm unless provoked, so there is no immediate reason to panic. The players sigh in relief, preferring to avoid such a dangerous opponent. They decide to just slip past, but one merchant notices something is off. The ancient ant is acting weird, but the bard tells everyone not to worry. He insists the monster will not strike first, but the beast has other plans. Without warning, it launches a brutal attack, sending everyone screaming in panic. The players scatter as the bard stands there completely shocked by the aggression. He is certain the ant is passive, but Mincheol quickly activates a skill. Using Shadow Step, he cloaks his body in darkness to move incredibly fast. This boost lets him slip into stealth while ramping up his movement speed. Bard keeps claiming this ancient creature is harmless, but reality says otherwise. With no way out of this mess, they have no choice but to fight. Battle preparation begins, though the other players are completely caught off guard. They ask if the bard has a backup plan, but he just yells to form squads. Grouping up immediately is a must, leaving the confused merchants wondering why. The boss is aggressive, but the armed players step up to handle the threat. Their goal is simple: pile on the damage and avoid getting hit. An armed swordswoman leads the charge, unleashing her double slash skill. Right behind her, a mage invokes a powerful thunder strike from above. The grateful merchants realize these brave players are fighting to protect them. This newly formed squad coordinates perfectly, jumping on the boss all at once. Watching from the sidelines, Mincheol is genuinely impressed by their sudden teamwork. Even though they just met, seeing them fight as one is pretty cool. Oasis nervously asks if they should just stand there without helping. Mincheol reassures her that timing is everything, so there is no need to rush. He knows his damage output can easily steal the boss's aggro right away. However, his stamina is too low to survive the beast's direct counterattacks. Mincheol tells Oasis to jump in and support them while he waits a bit. He watches her go, eager to see how much she has actually grown. Oasis activates her Sanctuary Summon skill, healing all allies within a 30-meter radius and patching up their wounds. This quickly restores their health, making her look like a true guardian angel. A beautiful wave of healing washes over the battlefield as she finishes her spell. Mincheol praises her smart move since she stopped right before getting spotted. He knows a great healer needs perfect timing to stay safe in battle. No mana should be wasted, yet the entire squad must be kept alive. Keeping the healer alive is key because they are the backbone of the fight. Survival is absolutely key now. The protagonist activates. Shadow step and slips right back into the darkness, shrouding himself completely. With his shadow, the field boss, the ancient ant, kept raging and tearing down everything. Everything around him. The merchant bard shouted that victory was only one step away. But our hero knew that just dealing high damage right now wouldn't earn him much. His overall contribution would stay low, but delivering the final blow, that meant extra points. He instantly triggered Shadow Slash, a special move from the Array of Light. This Dark Knight exclusive teleported him right behind the boss, blade spinning fast. It dealt massive bonus damage. Suddenly, the party realized the beast had fallen. The Centennial Ant was completely defeated, had they actually taken it down this quickly. For their victory, 3 dice popped up as a reward. Immediately, one player shouted. It was time to split up the sweet loot dropped by the boss. There were some pretty decent items. Anyone who wanted them had to roll. Oasis stepped up, asking how many dice the high-level gentleman currently held. Mincheol shrugged. It didn't matter, since the boss was only level 70 anyway. Those drops were basically worthless. Nearby, the merchant bard chugged a red potion. He recovered his stats, while another player noted how surprisingly fast the fight ended. The bard got pensive. Surely nobody had chipped away at the boss beforehand. Could it be someone in their party, or just some passing troll having fun? Shaking it off, the bard announced they had to keep moving right away. Reaching the campsite quickly was vital. Another boss fight right now would finish them. In their battered state, they wouldn't stand a chance. But then, a player wondered. Was another attack even possible? He crossed this forest constantly without meeting two. The bard warned that extra caution never hurt. Better safe than sorry out here. Even though double encounters were practically impossible, bad luck is a real thing. And just like that, another field boss suddenly appeared right before their eyes. It was the queen bee. The bard froze in absolute jaw-dropping disbelief. She was way stronger than any boss they had ever faced, distanced attacks only. The mages quickly raised their staffs, unleashing a barrage of magic upward. They needed to force the queen bee down, but magic barely scratched her. With her high magic immunity, they had to rely on pure physical force. The archers aimed and opened fire, but she effortlessly dodged every single shot. Then she retaliated, wiping out half the team. The bard yelled his strategy. They had to bounce arrows off her wings to force her to the ground. The remaining mages kept targeting her midair, but the bard knew it was hopeless. An absolute beast of an opponent, no hope, they stood zero chance. Suddenly, a massive fireball streaked across the sky, exploding directly against her shell. Her wings shattered, dead silent. The players stared in total, utter confusion. What just happened? Was someone actually sniping from the watchtower up there? Indeed, a player stood on the tower, Mincheol, peering through an optical scope. Unleashed rapid-fire magic to take down the queen bee. The fireballs flew. At insane speeds, the massive field boss had absolutely no way to dodge them. The team watched in awe as she crashed down, wings scorched and smoking. Seizing the moment, the surviving players rushed forward to deliver the final blows. Watching them, our protagonist sighed. He designed this game for environmental strategy. Yet none of these players even bothered to look up and think broader. After all, Wings Online was meant to be pretty simple and user-friendly. That's just how the game works. She readies her stinger. Target locked, her brutal sting completely obliterates everyone nearby. But she hovers right back up, ready to continue this massive clash. Merchant Bard screams that Phase 2 has officially begun, so they must push harder. She is far too aggressive now, making it completely impossible to get close. Bard is panicking. They were so incredibly close to winning, but they lack strength. But they just don't have the strength. Then, the array of light skill triggers. Right on cue, Mincheol swoops in to assist them. He steals the final kill again, securing their absolute victory. Exhausted players ask the Bard if the danger is finally over. Bard reassures them that this crazy boss encounter was just a fluke. 2 bosses back-to-back is highly unlikely, but he did it. Mincheol stole the final kill again. He quietly checks his status window. He bagged 30 shiny coins, but another massive field boss is already spawning nearby. The Lord of the Forest, a giant hippogriff, Mincheol retreats quickly to safety. Finding a safe spot, Mincheol sighs in relief at his narrow escape. If he had hesitated for even a single second, that terrifying monster would have shredded him to pieces. Mincheol watches the hippogriff fly off. It is heading straight for the merchant camp. Meanwhile, at the merchant camp, sudden panic begins to brew. Oasis is busy casting her healing spells, earning heartfelt thanks from the wounded players. They mention how incredibly exhausting it must be to support everyone alone, but she just smiles. Saving people is her duty, she says. Suddenly, a grateful player hands her a gift. It's a small token of gratitude, but Oasis is completely stunned. She was only doing her job, so she wonders if this rare potion is too valuable. It is a special mana recovery potion, but she hesitates. The warrior insists it is useless to him anyway, found during yesterday's raid. She happily tucks it away, feeling incredibly proud of her skills as a dedicated healer. Will her master praise her? She looks around, searching the camp. Where is Mincheol? He must be keeping the boss busy elsewhere. Oasis looks up and completely freezes as the terrifying lord of the forest suddenly approaches. The terrifying hippogriff, a swordsman, instantly leaps in front of Oasis to shield her. Wake up, he yells, extreme danger is right here. Defeating this boss is impossible, but the bard bravely steps forward with his guitar. He plays the melody of life, a powerful movement speed buff. Boosted by the speed buff, the archers instantly fire. They target the hippogriff, but the beast is completely invulnerable. Every arrow bounces harmlessly off its hide. Then, the boss summons a tornado. The boss conjures a massive air tornado that begins sucking up players left and right. When the storm settles, countless defeated players lie scattered on the dirt. Oasis tries to resurrect them, but her mana is bone dry. She is at her absolute limit, quietly whispering an apology to her master. Suddenly, Mincheol appears, gently telling the exhausted Oasis that she did an amazing job. The knights charge forward, screaming that they must destroy the terrifying hippogriff. As the charge sounds, all available healers quickly tend to the wounded. They cast Resurrection while the bard plays on, playing music on his instrument. As the hunt for the hippogriff is officially declared open, Mincheol explains that these are actually rival merchants who left just an hour later. Meanwhile, Oasis warns the gentlemen to stay on guard as thorny vines suddenly erupt from the ground. The vine summon skill triggers, unleashing a massive root that tightly binds the target, leaving Mincheol hanging completely upside down. The bard mockingly asks if he orchestrated the entire boss attack before preparing to deliver the final blow. Oasis tries to step in and clear up the misunderstanding, but the player quickly warns her that she should stay out of this. He cannot comprehend why she is even in the same party as Mincheol. The merchant bard declares that this guy has officially crossed the line, demanding to know if he genuinely enjoys making other players suffer. Our hero shamelessly admits that he absolutely loves it. Hearing this, a player snaps that Mincheol is totally out of his mind and clearly bears the disgraced mark. He must be dragged to the city guards to rot in a dark cell forever. Mincheol asks the crowd if they are all at the maximum level and if their high tier gear even matches up. He wonders if they forgot they came here for adventure and to escape reality for a little while. Do they honestly think that the newer players who joined after them are only chasing after these bosses? That is not true at all. Every raid is incredibly unique, making them impossible to miss. Absolutely nothing compares to the pure adrenaline of confronting a massive beast, or that deep satisfaction of conquering a challenge that once seemed completely impossible alongside comrades who fought through hell right beside them. Mincheol states that he is merely reminding them of the true joy of gaming, which they have clearly forgotten. Suddenly, the knight yells that they have nearly brought down the hippogriff. Hearing this, the bard barks orders not to lose momentum. A player suggests the bard should jump into the fray as well to keep the pressure on. The nearby merchants scoff, calling Mincheol's speech nothing but a cheap excuse. But since taking down the boss takes priority, he gets off extremely easy today. Oasis quickly rushes over to free Mincheol. Meanwhile, the bard begrudgingly admits that he has not felt this kind of excitement in years. From high above, we see the mighty hippogriff finally collapse in defeat. The elder announces that they must begin dividing up the hard-earned loot. Our hero is awarded 3 dice for his combat contribution. Mincheol quietly figures that since this preseason boss has finally been defeated, there is honestly no point in expecting any high-tier loot drops. Yet he still gets a shot to roll for the legendary hippogriff. Heart, Mitchell instantly realizes this is the exact moment he was saving up his coins for. His entire goal was to buy that precious hippogriff heart, and he intends to secure it since the drop rate is incredibly low. The warrior tosses his dice high into the air, praying that Gaia has blessed him. Today, the goddess of fortune is clearly smiling on him, but get this. The first die lands on a pathetic one, the second yields the exact same result. Oasis sighs in disappointment at his terrible luck, but realizes her own role was actually incredibly massive. Mitchell looks over and sees that the girl has miraculously pulled 6 dice. Relying on Oasis and her insane rolls, he secures the coveted hippogriff heart. Curiously, she asks what it is for, and Mitchell boasts he will now skyrocket to level 70 in no time flat, and just like that, the expedition. Oasis gazes ahead, finally spotting their destination. Why does Salida look so breathtaking today? She quietly wonders, taking in the view. Salida really is a beautiful sight. It was a chaotic trip, but they successfully made it to the end. The merchant bard thanks them warmly before their paths finally split here. They bid farewell, hoping fate brings them together again. The team praises his efforts. With a final wave, the party officially disbands. The long journey is finally over. As everyone heads off, they wish each other the best of luck in game. But Oasis is restless. She is eager to explore the secrets of Salida. Before she can take a step, Mincheol quickly grabs her arm and warns her to stay put. He drops some bad news. They cannot actually enter the city of Salida. Mincheol chimes in, reminding them that they carry too many dishonor points. If the city guards catch them inside, they will be thrown straight into a cell. Oasis frowns, asking if there is really no sneakier way into such a gorgeous city. Mincheol shrugs, only the shady underground city welcomes outlaws like them. Giving up for now, Oasis registers the teleport portal. She says it will only take a moment. Meanwhile, 3 kilometers away in a dusty local tavern, a loud player is making a scene. He slams his mug down, furiously shouting that the cheap beer tastes like garbage. The bartender calmly suggests some local rum instead if the guest is so unsatisfied. He claims it is the finest drink in the region, hoping to quiet the rowdy customer. The man is too annoyed, demanding to know how the tavern will compensate him. Suddenly, a massive figure nearby grumbles, asking who is making all this noise. A player dressed in a panda costume cheers, thrilled to find such a big target. This hyperactive panda lifts the troublemaker completely upside down like he is nothing. The trashed bully begs for help before the panda casually tosses him aside. Panda scoffs at the weakling, saying he is only good at picking on harmless townspeople. He tells Grizzly he found a highly wanted outlaw nearby. Grizzly asks how bad, and Panda reveals the guy has over 20,000 infamy points. Taking the job, Grizzly points out that the reward is incredibly small. The payout won't even cover 2 weeks of food, and tracking him might take just as long. But Panda grins, and trust me, they do not need to track him down. Their prey is just outside Salida, currently sitting at level 50 with 1 ally. Cut back to Oasis, who asks if they are heading into another dungeon crawl. She gazes at the Temple of the Forgotten Guardian, a high-level challenge. Curious, Oasis asks Mincheol what a dungeon boss challenge actually entails. He explains it is a special zone where players only face the main boss. The target spawns right at the entrance, and the fight ends when it dies. Mincheol notes he designed unique dungeons like this to keep players entertained. Sadly, the community got bored of this specific mechanic pretty fast. It was quickly abandoned and forgotten, but Mincheol says it suits their current needs. Oasis points toward a massive, silent monument, wondering if that statue is their enemy. Standing right before them is a glowing stone knight wielding a giant sword. Mincheol warns her that crossing the red circle boundary will wake the beast up. Oasis feels a wave of doubt, wondering if they can survive a level 75 fight. Mincheol smiles, admitting they would have stood absolutely zero chance in the past. But things are different now because they have the powerful hippogriff's heart with them. It is actually pretty simple since it can apply to anything touchable. In this case, the hippogriff heart can strengthen 100 different potions. Oasis is completely caught off guard, wondering if normal potions are completely useless against a raid boss, but Mincheol explains that if they infuse a potion with the hippogriff heart, it will be upgraded to a much higher tier. That is how you damage bosses. The player combines the hippogriff heart to craft an enhanced Basile's poison potion. Mincheol proudly announces that his deadly brew is finally complete. Now what? Happens if he throws this bottle at the boss while staying outside the circle. Oasis asks if the monster will just ignore the damage since they are outside. Mincheol nods and says she is totally right. The boss will stay completely idle while they stand outside, and normal attacks will not deal any damage at all until they actually step inside, unless, of course, you exploit a glitch. That is exactly why they need this special potion. Mincheol chucks the bottle right into the center of the battle ring. It shatters, but the boss does not even flinch. Mincheol notes that if you abuse this little programming loophole, you can easily do things that seem totally impossible. Mincheol says they just need to sit back and let the experience points roll right in. He even mentions that they might grab some legendary loot from this monster. Oasis quickly crosses her fingers. After some time, our team leaves the chamber. Oasis immediately begs to try again. She is absolutely positive that a legendary drop is coming, but Mincheol points out that if nothing dropped after 10 straight hours, wishing for it now will not help. They will definitely come back, but only after they finally unlock their next classes. But their path is suddenly blocked by Panda and Grizzly. Grizzly grins, saying she has finally tracked him down. Panda mocks them, asking what brought these losers to Solitaire. Honestly, it does not matter since they have nothing better to do. Mincheol warns Oasis to stick close to him. He spins on his heel and bolts. Panda laughs, shouting that he is ready for tag. Grizzly sneers that a fast chase is never any fun. Oasis asks Mincheol why they are not fighting back. Mincheol explains that these two are dangerous bounty hunters. They make their living by hunting down marked players. These hunters are at the maximum level. After their 4th class change, they unlock the new Niswaris dungeon system. It lets you boost 3 traits of your character, like attack, defense, and utility. The gap between level 90 players and anyone below is massive. Right now, their chances of winning are absolutely zero, but Mincheol does not want to use his final trump card yet. He quickly contacts Akashi and asks for a favor. Oasis wonders what plan he is referring to. Mincheol mutters that trash collects trash. Panda asks Grizzly if she is sure about tracking them here. She answers that there are barely any hiding spots nearby. Panda is impressed by how well she researched the area. Suddenly, Grizzly throws a blade whistling through the air. Mincheol barely dodges at the last second. Mincheol raises his sword to block the incoming strike. The blade flew straight at him, shocking Mincheol. He takes massive damage despite pulling off a successful block. Grizzly must have totally maxed out her offense stat. Suddenly, Panda rushes forward and flattens Mincheol with a brutal punch. Oasis immediately activates her healing touch. Grizzly screams for Panda to kill the healer first. Mincheol activated Shadow from the Light Array, a specialized skill of Dark Knight that teleports players behind enemies with a spinning slash to deal extra damage. Grizzly was totally blindsided when her opponent vanished and reappeared right behind her, demanding to know what that was. Panda admitted he had never seen anything like it before. Meanwhile, Oasis instantly rushed to help Mincheol. Panda quickly intercepted her, landing a blow and asking where she thought she was going, sending her flying back. Grizzly barked that she was sick of dealing with hidden classes, tensing up for the first time in this battle. She swung her massive weapon straight at Mincheol. Down he goes. She slammed Mincheol to the dirt, demanding his identity. Suddenly, she heard a voice behind her grumbling that his hands were itching to fight. She turned around to find Mincheol smiling, saying he got there just in time. Kane stood right behind her, resting his massive sword on his shoulder. Kane drew it, warning them not to touch someone else's property unless they wanted to lose a hand. Grizzly was shocked, wondering if this was really Mincheol's friend, but honestly, what did it matter? He did not seem all that important anyway, she declared. They had bigger prey, the bounty hunter Kane. He simply asked if they knew each other. Suddenly, Panda appeared behind Kane, asking how a hunter could ever forget a colleague. He added that he was grateful for this rare gift since players with 1,000,000 bad reputation points were hard to find. Kane warned them that if they knew his name, they should realize they could never defeat him, but the duo boasted they would be the first to destroy this monster of monsters. Kane smirked, ready to see them try, noting there is nothing more satisfying than breaking one opponent first and watching the spare take over the other. Panda yelled that Kane was bluffing and charged at him, fists flying. At the exact same moment, Grizzly lunged forward with her sword, but Kane effortlessly blocked her strike and dodged Panda's assault. Still lying on the ground, Mincheol realized these two were no ordinary rookies. Kane laughed, saying the best part of this trash game was breaking other players. Oasis asked Mincheol if he knew him, and the protagonist replied that this hunter had been searching for him, even asking Akashi for his location. Oasis nervously asked if he could really take on two high-level players. Mincheol told her to watch closely because she could learn a lot. This was a rare chance to watch a legendary bounty hunter clash in a high-level battle. Grizzly soon ended up wounded on the ground, admitting that the rumors were true. This guy was insanely strong, so it was no wonder he had placed second in the tournament. Panda grunted, wondering why someone so powerful wasted time hunting players instead of pursuing real martial arts to reach greater heights. And reaching greater heights, Kane quickly retorted he would if it weren't for one annoying jerk who called himself low. Right then, Mincheol stabbed Kane back with his sword, casually remarking that it had been a long time. Mincheol activated his shadow step skill, surrounding his body with dark shadows. He roared, unleashing Shadow Slash. Suddenly, Panda urged Grizzly that they drop this and head back to the village. Grizzly agreed. Mincheol wondered in disbelief if he had actually defeated Kane, but just then, Kane cuts him in half with his sword, scoffing that Shrimp should have paid more attention to his health. Sure, his own life was down to a sliver, but a sliver was all he needed. Turning to Oasis, Kane demands that she resurrect her master right away. Killing him once was not enough. He wanted to grind him into dust all over again. Mincheol tells the raging player to calm down so they can actually talk things through. But Kane snaps back, refusing to hear any excuses about the Season 1 finals. Mincheol begs him to just listen for a second as he explains what happened. It all goes back to the individual sparring tournament in that first season. In the grand finals between Kane and Eren, Kane was completely crushed. Eren walked away with all the glory, while Kane was swept aside and forgotten. But Kane reveals the ugly truth. It was all Shrimp's fault for covering it up. Shrimp had all the data, but ignored the fact that Eren had clearly cheated. Kane took impossible damage during that fight, but the system ignored it. When he tried to speak up, they brushed his claims aside without a second thought. Instead of justice, he was mocked as a sore loser who could not accept defeat. Shrimp was the head director of the tournament, the one running the entire show. If he had simply exposed Eren's cheating, Kane's honor would have been saved. He spits out that his life would not be in ruins if Shrimp had acted. Hearing this, Mincheol asks if that is why Kane turned into a player killer. Kane admits he wants nothing more than to completely break this trash game. He began slaughtering everyone in his path until Mincheol proposes a sudden duel. If Kane wins, Mincheol promises to go public as the game master Shrimp. He will finally reveal the truth about what went down in that final match. Kane freezes in disbelief, wondering if this developer is actually serious. But if Mincheol wins, Kane must pledge loyalty and become his direct subordinate. Kane immediately grips his sword, eager to start the duel right here and now. Mincheol tells him to hold on. They will fight only when he hits level 90. After all, Kane wants a fair fight on equal terms, not a cheap victory. All Kane has to do is wait for him to catch up to reveal the truth. Kane hesitates, deeply lost in thought, as Mincheol presses him for an answer. He knows there is no way he would lose, even at level 90. What truly makes him hesitate is the absolute confidence in Mincheol's eyes. Mincheol tells Kane to send a friend request, promising to ping him at level 90. Kane reluctantly accepts the terms, and Mincheol notes it is time to depart. They need to split up before the heavy-hitting hunters come back for them. Kane tears open a portal, warning that they will meet again very soon. Left alone, Oasis curiously asks if Eren really did cheat back then. Instead of answering directly, Mincheol asks her what makes a game truly work. To run a successful world, absolute fairness must be the ultimate priority. Every single player needs to feel that their hard work and effort actually matters. That is precisely why Mincheol built Wings Online to reject pay-to-win mechanics. He poured his soul into perfect balance, wanting to create a true meritocracy. If absolute fairness does not exist in reality, he would build it here. He wanted a world where dedication guaranteed success, and he was completely obsessed. He was willing to sacrifice everything just to keep that perfect balance alive. The tournament serves as a prime arena where fighters showcase their hard-earned skills. All for the sake of combat, and Mincheol proved he excelled at it. Oasis asked about Kane's message, but Mincheol admitted they were still in the dark. Oasis then asked who they really were, leaving the developer puzzled. He explained that running a massive online world was incredibly draining despite his best efforts. Eventually, even the toughest minds break and fade away entirely. Mincheol took full blame for Kane's downfall, taking the burden onto his own shoulders. He carried that heavy weight, then he mentioned that if they cleared the benchmark, level 70, the third qualification would finally begin. Oasis agreed completely. But needing 50 ranking points to requalify was tough, especially after Kane crushed him. His standing was ruined, prompting the developer to seek an alternative route. He decided to request assistance from Oasis's old allies to restore his name. Soon his status recovered. Oasis bid her companions farewell, promising future encounters. Mincheol quickly conjured a portal, but his bracelet began acting incredibly strangely. The device's description noted it could only be fully unlocked past level 70. Using the accessory, Mincheol teleported away. Seconds later, he spotted Gaia ahead. She stood just a few paces away. Turning around, she smiled warmly at him. She reminded her former master that he should have left the world's fate to her. But he was always stubborn, wanting to carry every burden alone. His chaotic actions triggered a massive flood, leaving her to clean up his colossal mess. Mincheol was taken aback. Why drag up the past now? He had no time. He could not afford nostalgia. Gaia softly noted that creation was a beautiful thing. She finally understood his grand dream. Mincheol gestured directly toward his wrist. He asked about the bracelet's true purpose, wondering if it was meant to summon her. She clarified it had other functions as a high-tech face scanner suddenly booted up. It displayed detailed target profiles. Normally, players could keep their private statistics hidden. Nobody can peek without direct permission, making these hidden numbers extremely valuable. Each digit represents crucial tactical data. Mincheol frowned at the massive security breach. This device completely broke his own system regulations, but Gaia simply shrugged. She revealed she had a special, highly classified mission prepared just for him. Goddess's Plea was an incredibly rare, legendary tier quest divided into multiple parts. Each finished phase would bestow immense, game-changing rewards along the journey. Mincheol objected, noting that epic rank was supposed to be the absolute ceiling. He had never programmed a legendary tier. Gaia smiled and clarified the mystery. She had generated the tier herself, acting entirely on her own programming. Mincheol was stunned. Had the main system bypassed human command entirely? Bypassing development protocols was insane, yet she acted like it was normal. This absolute anomaly sent shivers down his spine. She gently bid him farewell. Though she was departing for now, she promised their paths would cross again. Mincheol desperately shouted for her to wait, his mind swirling with unanswered questions. But the goddess vanished, leaving him alone by the portal, dreading her true motives. Suddenly, a massive broadcast flared up as the new director, Anhasu, appeared. He greeted the players, eagerly declaring a massive piece of shocking news. Wings Online was officially transitioning to a completely free-to-play model. He enthusiastically urged everyone to dive in and enjoy the virtual world together. In the future, they promised to keep bringing players amazing content. Oasis carefully reads the updated terms. Finally, the store rules are updated. But her master is protesting. He acts like he does not care. But inside, it is totally eating him alive. Mincheol tells Oasis they should definitely grab that free 25% boost. Now they can level up fast. Super fast, but wait, there's even more. Look at all these cool items. Oasis tells him to chill, but Mincheol is not done yet. The icing on the cake, it is a legendary immunity contract. This entire is only for popular players, completely shielding them from any penalties for as long as it lasts. Mincheol explains that with this contract, they can easily finish the biggest quest of all, Wings Online. This specific quest follows the main storyline. It is mandatory, but it yields an insane amount of experience, but notorious players cannot start it normally. Still, they will be level up faster than expected. Oasis has no idea what Gaia wants, but they are playing together anyway. She announces that they are heading toward the Kingdom of White Snow. Seriously, look at this massive city, the biggest in the game, a giant fortress protected by massive high walls. All of the citizen and player houses are built in a perfect circle. The inner ring holds the grand royal palace and holy temple. A woman with a lamp wonders where everyone went, begging them to come out. Suddenly, footsteps echo. Behind her, turning around, a young girl asks what she is searching for. Oasis looks around in absolute awe. She has never seen such a massive city. Nor has she seen this many players. Shops line the streets, allowing players to bargain and trade. It is a giant market. Oasis approaches a towering knight, assuming he is just a guard, but he asks if she is a traveler, saying he has finally found who he needs. Right then, Mincheol tells Oasis not to worry. These are just regular players, and this guy will give her the first main storyline quest. The knight explains that several local kids recently snuck into the sewers to play, and they still have not returned. They lack the manpower to search, so the knight asks if they will go look for them. Oasis beams, telling him they can absolutely handle it. Right near the sewer entrance, they spot tiny shoes. Talk about ominous. Distressed woman cries out. Mincheol walks up to ask what is going on. With her, Oasis asks how they can help, and the grandmother explains that her grandson went inside and never came back. The guards are too busy to search for him. Oasis reassures her, promising they will bring her grandson back safe. The grandmother adds that another young lady tried to rescue him earlier, but she vanished too. Oasis quietly asks her master if that lady was just another non-player character. Mincheol chuckles, refusing to spoil any of the mystery. Oasis huffs she does not need spoilers anyway. She wants to see for herself. Mincheol keeps quiet. Turning back, Oasis tells the worried grandmother they will be back soon with the boy. The woman warns them to stay extremely safe. Inside the dark sewers, Oasis looks down and shrieks, massive rats are everywhere. Mincheol points out they look sick and there are way too many. Oasis quickly activates the basilisk call. Mincheol notes she is still only a baby, but still a deadly basilisk. Terrified, Oasis screamed at it to devour the swarming rats. Hypnotized with absolute dread, the rodents froze up and could not move. The serpent slithered forward and began devouring them one by one. Once the pests were cleared out, Oasis complained she never wanted to see snakes again after their dungeon ordeal. She never expected to summon it again. Still, getting eaten by wild rats was way worse. Mincheol remarked that if he knew about Oasis' pet, they would have brought it along on their hunt. Oasis whined that summoning it was incredibly expensive. Mincheol then asked if she could level up the beast. Meanwhile, Oasis was desperately trying to peel off the baby monster, who just wanted to play. Meanwhile, Mincheol noticed movement in the shadows and sprinted toward it. Their terrified children were huddled in the dark. A blood-soaked girl holding a sword stood in front of them, asking if they were all right. She was shielding the kids from a massive monster looming behind. Mincheol charged the beast and screamed at Oasis to get the kids out first. Oasis quickly ushered them away, warning them to stay close. The injured girl struggled to follow behind. She weakly thanked her rescuers before collapsing unconscious onto the cold stone floor. Oasis gasped, turning around to see her pass out. In this dungeon, monster difficulty scales directly with the challenger's own power level. This was going to hurt. Mincheol knew he had to end this battle instantly, unleashing his Dark Knight class skills. He blinked behind the beast, driving his blade in with a vicious twist for maximum damage. Meanwhile, Oasis activated her healing mode, warning the girl to stay down. She was far too weak. The girl offered a faint thank you and introduced herself as Elaine. Grabbing her bow, she insisted she had to help. With Elaine officially joining the party, she fired a glowing lightning arrow. But something went sideways, and her shot hit Mincheol square in the forehead. Luckily, friendly fire is disabled, so teammates take absolutely zero damage. Flustered, Elaine apologized, saying she was still weak. Mincheol watched the beast, noticing how it easily evaded his shadow attacks to strike back. How was it possible for a standard mob to evolve on its own? The basic humanoid system logic should not allow for that. Suddenly, Mincheol recalled Gaia boasting about her own creations. Could these rabid rats actually be infected with a virus? Elaine fired again, this time landing every single arrow. Mincheol channeled his dark aura for a final shattering strike. With the threat gone, an old woman was reunited with the children. Crying, she thanked the heroes. Oasis offered a warm smile, brushing it off as nothing. Still, the old woman remained shaken by the sheer danger. Elaine hung her head, admitting she was incredibly foolish to jump in. Without knowing her limits, it was entirely her fault, but thankfully, these brave adventurers stepped up. Otherwise, she and the little ones would have perished. Oasis gently told her not to blame herself, since her intentions were pure. Elaine nodded, slowly realizing her mistake. Blind goodwill without the power to back it up only breeds disaster. She vowed to be far more cautious. Oasis then wondered if this unique NPC Elaine was a vital figure in the story. Mincheol agreed, calling her one of the primary characters in the game. Funny enough, new players immediately saw that Elaine was special when designing the major NPCs. Real actors did the motion capture as the game blew up. The actors became superstars. The girl playing Elaine became an overnight sensation, climbing to massive popularity. Meanwhile, Oasis checked her stats and saw her level had gone up, though she was still slightly short on experience. Still, she was thrilled. Mincheol suggested wrapping up the remaining quests quickly. Their next mission was simple: clear out all the goblins from the forest. Elaine offered to help them out, leading into the cemetery keeper's quest. Elaine quickly wiped out a horde of undead. Oasis asked if that was it. It was too easy, but Elaine suddenly froze, sensing another presence. A hooded man stepped forward, commanding them to bow and accept their doom. He summoned a massive abomination to rise. Oasis shivered in pure terror. She looked at the grotesque beast. He had to destroy it immediately. But Mincheol shook his head, insisting that Oasis must handle this beast herself. He pointed out that the undead are extremely weak to holy magic. Since almost all of her healer spells were holy magic, Mincheol ordered her to heal this growth-covered beast. Oasis nervously raised her staff. She cautiously approached the monster, wondering if healing magic would actually work. She cast her healing breath, causing the monster to writhe in agony. Oasis was stunned. Mincheol explained that undead are highly vulnerable to healers. In fact, these were some of the few monsters she could actually kill. Realizing this chance was rare, Oasis decided to unleash her full holy arsenal. She raised her staff high into the air, preparing to dump every holy spell she had. First came Holy Shield, followed by Wave of Life and Restorative Breath. She chained Hand of Healing next. The beast screamed in agony. Oasis ordered the monster back to the grave, sending a surge of healing light. The monster turned to flee, screeching that it would remember this pain. As the beast ran off, Elaine thanked the adventurers for their help. Because of them, the snow field would remain peaceful for another day. Oasis praised Elaine as the true hero, but Elaine humbly shook her head. She insisted she did nothing and that they were the ones who saved her. Oasis explained they were just helping the locals to complete their quest. Why did Elaine constantly put her life on the line? Elaine shared her grandfather's motto, save every single person you can. She promised to always help anyone in need, bowing to them respectfully. She was so sweet. Oasis adored her gentle, kind nature. Mincheol proudly stated that was exactly how he had programmed her NPC. Exhausted, he announced he was logging off, telling Oasis she knew what to do. Mincheol wished her a good night, saying he would see her tomorrow. With that, he logged out and vanished, leaving Oasis to activate her contract. A glowing portal to Undertale opened up, and she stepped right through. She stepped inside, but looking around, she knew she was still weak. Recalling her brutal fights with the beasts, she knew she had to get stronger. Never again, she needed to grow stronger, and she realized that becoming a great player versus player combatant required pure experience, but healers face a massive disadvantage in direct combat, so Oasis decided that until she grew stronger, she would challenge anyone crossing her path, yet everyone looked way too tough, so she just passed them by, growing more frustrated as the girl finally approached a lone player to issue her challenge. The young man turned around completely baffled and asked what she wanted. Oasis was terrified but managed to stammer out that she wanted a duel. She wanted to fight, and the bystanders were totally stunned. Was she not just a simple priestess healer? Why was a healer challenging them? Honestly, this made absolutely no sense to them. They assumed that the girl had to be drunk. After all, playing virtual reality games while intoxicated is terrible for your health. She needed real rest. The player tried to explain that her aggressive behavior was completely uncalled for, but she still swung her magic hammer straight down on his head. The player staggered as his health pool was instantly halved. They gasped. How could a simple priestess tear away half his health with a single strike? Did she really dump all her stat points directly into intelligence? Angered, the squad drew their weapons, since she started this. She could not complain when they crushed her. Rage filled the air as they charged, but Oasis just wanted to finish this and find someone who needed healing. After their joint attack, the players stood shocked. What was happening? How did a fragile priestess survive their combined onslaught if she had dumped everything into raw magic power? Oasis calculated that allocating stats to endurance instead would skyrocket her health points, letting her easily survive even the heaviest of blows. Now get this, Oasis actually told them to survive as long as possible. She really needed the practice. She activated her Basilisk summon, quietly admitting that she still had left to learn 2 weeks back, during her very first encounter with actual players. Her master Mincheol had explained something vital, the reason she always acted defensively, even when enemies tried to delete her, was due to her core artificial intelligence. Programming forbidding attacks on humans, Mincheol asked if she felt guilty because AlphaGo defeated the world champion of Go. She had not, and this virtual world was no different. Board games, baseball, soccer, or basketball, they were all basically the same thing, just slightly more primitive and crude. Mincheol reminded her that player versus player combat is a core game mechanic. She must always be prepared to strike back. If she simply huddles on defense, there is no reason to keep her. She has to fight. Recalling that conversation, Oasis resolved to become extremely useful to Mincheol. She just needed to wait a bit longer. Now, the terrified players yelled at the healer to stay in her lane, but Oasis was already learning, using her agility to dodge their strikes while throwing swift counterattacks. By channeling her power, she realized she could easily disable her opponents. The outraged players demanded to know how this was possible since she was just a healer. In response, Oasis activated a lightning spell, burning her mana pool. She converted her intelligence stat directly into raw magical damage while using mana for defense. Even though these opponents were high level, they were absolutely nothing compared to bounty hunters. Oasis quickly cleared all 3 of them, yet this was not enough. She needed to become much stronger. Soon after, the Woodcutter's Wish quest was officially completed, and her level. With her stats rising, Oasis poured her heart into completing this quest. Watching her precise moves, Mincheol could not help but feel incredibly proud. If Oasis keeps pushing forward with this level of dedication, she will easily reach a whole new level. That epic power-up is completely within her reach. Oasis asks her master what is going on, and Mincheol explains the situation. This happens to be the very final scripted scenario of Season 1, meaning the guards are entirely gone. All the soldiers rushed to the outer wall to fight a massive monster army. But that horde is just a distraction. The real target is something far worse. They want the world crystal, but Mincheol warns that the players are too late. Oasis gasps. It is that creepy necromancer again. Has the precious world crystal already fallen into the hands of the dark cult? She smugly points out that dark magical arts are basically her master's specialized area of expertise anyway. Mincheol asks if she really thinks they are playing the good guys here. After all, their actual goal is world destruction. Suddenly, Oasis notices the world crystal turning a deep, corrupted black. If the dark energy fully consumes it, the entire world will be destroyed. Hearing that the world will end, absolute, blinding fury flares up inside the young priest's eyes. She shouts that they must stop them, but Mincheol holds her back. Charge in now, and they fall right into the enemy's trap. Realizing her reckless mistake, Oasis hesitates. Mincheol explains they still have to beat the boss to finish their quest. Losing on purpose just means they will be forced to play this annoying stage over and over again. So for now, they will play the roles of heroic, righteous adventurers. The necromancer brags about using the cracked crystal to summon the dark god Raven. Suddenly, glowing retribution arrows rain down. Paladin Elaine joins the fray, swearing she will never allow this evil. She warns the group that they cannot let the boss touch the crystal. If he succeeds, it is immediate game over, but the system suddenly announces the next main scenario. A timer starts, and Mincheol tells Oasis it is time to move. Oasis merely smirks at him, confidently reminding her master that he does not need to repeat himself. With a swift motion, she casts her wave of restoration skill. She laughs proudly, declaring how incredibly thrilling it is to play the crucial healer role in battle. Even as a healer, she knows her opponent can do absolutely nothing to her. An ordinary necromancer stands absolutely zero chance when facing off against the divine, holy power of a priest. She tells him to yield. Enraged, the necromancer calls upon his dark master. The boss begs the colossal dark deity to grant him the crushing power of his legendary bodyguards. A massive, swirling dark portal tears open right in front of them. A terrifying, fully armored phantom knight emerges. This monster is one of the 4 elite guards serving the god Raven. Since the phantom is entirely incorporeal, even the foolish necromancer gasps in sheer disbelief at his own summon. The team stares up at this terrifying phantom in absolute horror. Their current quest parameter is incredibly simple, requiring them to survive his onslaught for the allotted time. The dark god Raven and his knights are supreme, godlike beings. By the game's actual design, normal players can never defeat them. However, Mincheol quietly points out that the true, hidden quest goal is to completely destroy this monstrosity. The game developers designed this boss to be unkillable, but theoretically, Oasis could do it. Still, even veteran players never managed to unlock this option. Our main character asks if she is truly ready to defeat this unkillable foe. She smirked, telling him that being ready was basically her middle name. But the enemy was just too strong, wiping out both Mincheol and Oasis. Oasis wants to try again, absolutely sure they will win next time. Mincheol thinks it is absolutely wild. After all, they did something incredible. They shredded a massive amount of health with just 2 fighters, including an NPC. That is exactly why our main character chose to fight rather than run away. He really wanted to test just how much Oasis's combat skills had grown. Mincheol realizes the girl is way more formidable than anyone initially realized. Just look at how much damage they managed to deal to this boss. A boss that usually takes 12 players to bring down, now Elaine steps forward. Clutching her bow, she fiercely demands that the Dark Knight leave this place. Suddenly, the chamber doors burst open, and the king himself appears at the threshold. Accompanied by his sons, he demands to know who dared touch the world crystal. He orders the evil creature to leave this instant. Then, the Dark Knight vanishes into a portal as quickly as he arrived. Meanwhile, the second prince, Lindblom of White Snow, wonders aloud if their rival has actually been defeated. The first prince, Nade Hogg, points out that the knight was just out of energy. Since his summoner was dead, the knight simply retreated. Meanwhile, the king admits he never once suspected that the enemy army was actually a massive diversion. Things could have ended terribly if these brave adventurers had not stepped in. Without them, the world would have fallen to darkness. The king thanks them deeply. Oasis humbly replies they only did what they could, while Mincheol whispers that the king should probably show his gratitude with a legendary reward. Oasis tries to hush him, but honestly, Mincheol is right about this being a cutscene. It won't affect the actual game anyway. Then, the king reveals his long search. He has been looking for his daughter, Elaine. Oasis is completely shocked. Is Elaine actually a princess? Mincheol asks why she lived as a simple adventurer. It was all out of royal duty. Oasis admits that was incredibly noble of her. But Elaine speaks up, telling the king that far too much time has passed. She was born to a concubine, and calling her a princess would dishonor the crown. The king immediately shuts that down, telling Elaine never to say such things. She is his daughter, period. No one can ever question her royal blood. He heard all about her heroic deeds in White Snow, and despite her mother's tragedy, she still strove to do her duty. Now she must return home. Her place in the palace is ready, and she cannot refuse this royal decree. The world is falling into utter chaos as dark forces sweep the land. They desperately need to gather every single guardian they can possibly find. The king declares that Elaine must fulfill her sacred duty as a royal guardian. Elaine bows deeply, accepting her fate and promising to follow His Majesty's will. The king turns and offers his deepest thanks to the party for keeping her safe. Guardians of White Snow bear the ultimate burden of protecting the world crystal. They hold the balance of the world. They are the guardians. But without these brave adventurers, the royal family would never be able to complete their sacred duty. The king begged the youngsters to keep protecting the world crystal with them. Alongside them, King grants bond with White Snow Rose by 10 points. Next, the first prince's friendship level went up by 10. The second prince's score spiked by 10 points too. Finally, the fifth princess, Elaine, gained 10 points. Total success. Mincheol conquered the first season. It was done. Every single main scenario quest was finished. Mount Pegasus was unlocked. Oasis asked if her master was leaving. Suddenly, Mincheol drew his sword and slashed at the crystal. He stopped with a dark look. Mincheol warned that this crystal was unbreakable. Not just inside this space, but even inside the world server's main palace. This crystal is invincible. If shattered, their virtual world will genuinely be ruined. Oasis gasped in shock, asking if that was true. Mincheol confirmed that it triggers a global extinction event. He calmly told his companion, their real goal is the world crystal. The bad ending begins here. Oasis must remember this. The royals are enemies and that World Crystal is their target. Oasis whispered that she truly loved their short time playing as simple adventurers, but as an artificial intelligence designed to support her beloved master. She is bound to follow his lead if he chooses evil. Playtime was over. The scripted story quests were finally complete. Other players were still searching for a healer, ready to leave soon. They wanted a high-tier merchant, someone carrying gear with an item. Level of 860, a random player invited our brave heroes to join them. 2 slots were open. Instead of joining, Mincheol and Oasis headed for the portal. Once again, going solo, that dungeon was notoriously brutal even. For a full group of 6, a bystander suggested they were just exploring the entrance, having no plans to go any further. The Sky Palace dungeon, maximum danger, a colossal dragon coiled tightly. Round a giant island cliff, Oasis stared, gasping that the beast was massive. It enveloped the entire island. Mincheol explained that the next content update was delayed while developers prepared for the launch of Season 6. With nothing to do, max-level players were bored. Mount Pegasus was disabled. Mincheol added that everyone started flooding forums with endless spam demanding updates, so the developers worked tirelessly to build a special final dungeon for Season 5. Oasis realized they were only level 80. Could they actually survive this place together? Mincheol nodded. They had to sprint across the dragon's back to reach the island peak, but the massive dragon would block their ascent. How? By summoning endless monster minions. They must also quickly smash every mana core before the timer runs out, which is tough for full teams. Oasis smiled, fully confident her master already had a master plan. Then she gasped. Why was Mincheol digging a hole? He replied that the dragon's tail must be buried right here. Mincheol dug deep until he uncovered his target. It was the king's wrath. Mincheol smiled, explaining that all his dragons had a hidden self-destruct protocol. Their tails, but cutting off the tail of this boss dragon would be a truly massive mistake. 17 words. Since he needed to climb onto its back, so he quickly corrected the issue and 15 words. He buried the tail deep, then the young man swung his sword. 12 words. Oasis asked, Master, did he just pierce the tail? Are you sure this will? 15 words. Even work. Suddenly the dragon tore through the sky and roared. 11 words. Oasis watched in shock, wondering what was happening. Mincheol explained that 11 words. Destroying a specific part of a boss causes massive damage to its health. 13 words. Since that extra body part was never supposed to exist, destroying it. 12 words. Broke the game code. Whoever programmed this dragon was clearly sleeping on 12 words. The job, the boss took heavy, glitching damage over and over again. 12 words. Before long, the first phase was cleared. Oasis could barely believe 11 words. Her eyes, could a giant dragon really go down that easily? Mincheol, however, 13 words. Was furious about the game-breaking bug and immediately lashed out at developers. 13 words. The dev team gave him a hilarious nickname because of his rants. 12 words. They knew that just mentioning this exploit would make him absolutely lose it. 13 words. They called him the Wrath of the Shrimp Director. Oasis then asked if his master, 15 words, was really that legendary king. Mincheol replied that they dealt with it. 12 words. Quickly enough, but the dungeon was far from over. Enter Phase 2, a demonic 14 words. Warrior stepped out of the portal, demanding to know what happened to his 13 words. Fallen brother, he immediately realized our heroes were the ones responsible. 11 words. This was the true dungeon boss, a level 90 heaven-striking swordsman. 13 words. Deadly warrior, Mincheol quietly warned Oasis that there would be 11 words. No cheap bugs or easy glitches to exploit this time. They had to deal 14 words. With this boss fair and square, Oasis panicked, wondering how they could manage 13 words. Mincheol explained that while the opponent was strong, he used a standard warrior. 13 words. Class build, he was basically a melee combatant dressed in light silk armor. 13 words. This meant high speed and damage but low defense, possessing 2 dangerous skills. 13 words. The first is Rakshasa, an escape skill, and the second is Ashura, a 13 words. Deadly counter, if they could dodge both, they would find a way to win. 14 words. To start things off, Oasis immediately summoned her massive basilisk. 11 words. Mincheol admitted he thought girls hated snakes, but she was willing to do 13 words. Absolutely anything to win. The boss was outraged that mere humans dared to 13 words. Challenge him, Mincheol yelled that it was time to move. Oasis activated her 13 words. Spell, dropping a giant hammer, she dealt decent damage to the boss, 12 words. The boss spat that they were begging for death as a glowing crimson sphere, 13 words. Manifested in his palm, surging with terrifying demonic energy, Mincheol panicked, 11 words. Realizing they could not tank this hit, he screamed for Oasis to get 13 words. Out of there immediately, but the boss unleashed a relentless, crushing onslaught, 13 words. The pressure was overwhelming. Oasis stood completely frozen, unable to react, 11 words. She was blasted backward by the sheer force of the terrifying explosion, 12 words. Her giant basilisk was instantly shredded. Mincheol tried to sneak up from behind, 13 words. To strike, but wait, the boss notices him instantly, swinging around, 12 words. And tearing Mincheol to pieces as well. Now Oasis was left completely alone, 13 words. With the final boss, with zero backup left, Mincheol desperately shouted for her 13 words. To take cover, spotting a large boulder nearby, the girl quickly scrambled behind 13 words. That actually saved her. The stone took the brunt of the heavy blow as Oasis screamed. She begged Mincheol to hold on just a bit longer, promising to resurrect him immediately. But our hero replied that reviving him was pointless, since he still could not fight. It would only waste her precious strength and mana. Oasis had to handle this threat alone. There were 4 pillars of stone around the map, each crumbling after 3 direct hits. The boss would unleash 5 attacks on Oasis, followed by a 15-second pause. In that short window, she had to strike back hard. Surprisingly, the plan worked. Oasis shouted that she would try her absolute best, and Mincheol signaled her to move. It was time. The girl immediately boosted her intelligence stat to prepare her magic. She unleashed her falling hammer and punishing light, dealing heavy damage to the beast. Following up with destructive flame, Oasis told Mincheol she had completely run out of skills. Mincheol warned her that the beast was preparing to unleash another deadly slashing attack. They quickly had to hide behind a nearby rock while the master analyzed the battle. As a support class, Oasis lacked offensive spells and only had 2 windows to strike. But Oasis refused to yield, focused, determined, and absolutely set on winning. Following Mincheol's command, the young healer sprinted away from her shattered cover. She planned to take cover behind the next stone, waiting out 2 incoming strikes. Once safe, she prepared her counterattack, boosting her magic stats once again. She instantly chained her falling hammer, punishing light, and destructive flame spells. A massive hit, the boss lost half of its total health bar instantly. Mincheol praised her incredible damage output, but the furious monster was already charging. The beast swung its massive sword as our protagonist told her to finish it now. This was her final chance, and Oasis dove behind the last standing pillar. The monster unleashed a heavy strike that was aimed directly at her cover. Though it looked like a single blow, the attack actually hit multiple times. The massive range of these rapid strikes made it completely impossible to dodge. No matter how agile she was, she could never survive 5 consecutive hits. Oasis managed to block 3 consecutive blows in a brutal test of pure endurance. She cast Holy Shield while applying a slow heal, making Mincheol marvel at her grit. She was playing brilliantly, relying heavily on her high base endurance to survive. The active barrier absorbed the initial shock of the assault, just as planned. Now she was forced to take both the second and third devastating attacks directly with her bare body. Dangerously low health, Oasis desperately raised her basic dagger to block. It barely managed to deflect the 4th incoming strike in the nick of time. A successful block, but her fragile weapon immediately shattered into tiny pieces. Oasis quickly boosted her agility, though her evasion chance was only 38%. She had to gamble on raw luck, and miraculously, a successful dodge was registered. Mincheol called the move magnificent, knowing she now had one final opportunity. Summoning every bit of strength, she gripped her staff and braced for the clash. The monster stood, its health bar almost at 0. Mincheol sighed, realizing they would win easily if she had just one more attack. This was officially their first real failure as a team, but then something shifted. The young master gasped in absolute shock. How was he standing? Oasis had actually revived him. She told him that he had rested long enough. Even with the heavy side effects of revival, he could easily finish off the beast with one skill. The girl screams at her master to finally finish off the monster, and in that exact instant, it is. Obliterated, our hero remarks that Oasis has grown into an incredibly powerful player, as the Shadow. Link attack is triggered, leaving the absolute monster with zero chance of survival. The party conquers the swordmaster who struck the heavens, clearing the ancient dungeon palace. The legendary Heavenly Lord. Right after, our hero uses a precious resurrection stone. Oasis asks her master how things went, wondering if she will finally get her reward. Now the party spots an object radiating an eerie, mysterious glow. What could it be? Mincheol reveals it is a legendary item, leaving Oasis completely unable to believe her eyes. In her trembling hands, the girl holds the fury of the dragon tearing the sky. Weapon of absolute rage, the spoils also contain the horns of the very same dragon. Tearing the sky, a rare and powerful accessory, Mincheol explains he has no use for the horns, gifting them to the girl. He adds that they are useless to him. Anyway, while our hero has already quietly picked out the exact accessory he wants. He is drawn to the Crimson Sphere, the monster, previously used to launch its attacks. Our hero notes that the boss's skill was bizarre, but since they have mastered it, reaching the maximum level is finally within their grasp. The girl proudly equips the glowing horns, and Mincheol tells her they look fantastic. Other players are still desperately searching for new party members, eager to raid the next dungeon. Once they secure a reliable healer, others shout for tanks or archers until they see the same duo returning on their flying Pegasuses. Everyone assumes they will fail yet again. With such an incomplete, understaffed team, why must these two be so incredibly stubborn? They have spent several agonizing days banging their heads against this dungeon wall. However, the crowd gasps, seeing that the healer's staff is actually the fury of the legendary dragon tearing the sky. On top of that, she wears the mythical horns. Did they actually conquer this impossible boss? Flashback to the fight, Mincheol suddenly collapses to his knees as Oasis watches in awe. What is happening to the boss? The master shouts out in victory. They did it, they finally reached level 90. Oasis realizes they hit this milestone in just 4 short weeks. The girl happily agrees that their relentless grind paid off. But their master is completely exhausted, and Oasis gently reminds him that he cannot get any real sleep while trapped inside the game, urging him to log out. She warmly wishes her master sweet dreams. That is the price of playing 3 consecutive days without any rest. Suddenly, Oasis receives a notification for a rare quest. Will she accept this trial to advance to her 4th class? The warning of the goddess. She realizes this is her chance to upgrade her class before her master even wakes up. She accepts the quest and is immediately transported to a city engulfed in raging, violent flames. Oasis gasps, looking around in utter confusion. Is that freezing white snow falling through the smoke? What is happening here? A voice whispers that this is the grim future awaiting their world. Could it be Gaia speaking? The voice tells the chosen warrior to witness the coming destruction of this world. A horrific, apocalyptic vision unfolds before Oasis. The once proud princes lie dead. She cannot comprehend what brought this tragic end. Then, a sudden voice asks if the brave adventurer is still alive. Oasis spins around to see Elaine holding the bloodied, dying king, who collapses heavily to the cold ground. Elaine screams. Out of pure panic, Oasis activates her healing hand. But panic strikes, the skill refuses to activate. The dying king. He explained that with the world crystal stolen and their failure to stop the crow's resurrection, this was the only path left. Oasis was absolutely terrified. Was this really the dark future waiting for their world? The king blamed his own incompetence for bringing this awful fate upon them all. Elaine urged him not to speak like that. The old king apologized to his daughter for making her life so difficult, especially now that everything was ending before he could do anything for her. Elaine gently took her father's hand and begged him not to be so upset. Everything would be okay. She promised that every single day spent by his side had been the most precious part of her life. The king slowly closed his eyes and bowed his head as Elaine softly told him to rest in peace. Oasis looked into the distance, watching something massive and terrifying heading right for them, kicking up massive clouds of dust. With monsters and undead everywhere, time was running out. Elaine stood up, gripped her bow and arrows, and whispered how much she missed her old days as a simple adventurer. The princess admitted that she missed those peaceful times when her journey first began. Then she wondered if she could have grown stronger. If only she had more power to protect others, she could save at least one more soul. Drawing her bowstring back, she vowed to fight to the absolute end. She was ready, but then a thick dark aura erupted as a knight in bizarre armor stepped out from the burning ruins of the City, Oasis gasped in shock. Could this be her master? No, that was impossible. This was the demon god of ravens. How was he here? Elaine screamed white snow. Forever and let loose an arrow, but the shot never even reached him. Getting sliced clean in half, with that same brutal swing, the demon cut Elaine down. Right in front of Oasis, she stared in horror. Was this really Elaine's end? Clinging to her staff, Oasis desperately tried to cast her resurrection magic once more. But the spell failed completely. She just could not comprehend why it was not working. She sank to her knees beside the lifeless body, filled with bitter regret for this terrible future. Suddenly, Gaia materialized right before her eyes out of nowhere. Oasis scrambled to her feet and lunged forward, only to trip and fall flat at Gaia's feet. The goddess warned that her chosen warrior must always remember this future. Because only they held the power to change it, she warned that the dark god's revival was imminent in one shape or another. Oasis silently realized that this was not the real goddess, but just a cutscene projection. Gaia continued, granting her blessing so they would be prepared for that fateful day. Instantly, a new feature unlocked. Using points earned every 10 levels, players can now customize and boost their characters' attack, defense, and overall health stats as needed. Finally, Gaia pleaded with the hero to save their world from total ruin. Mensch suddenly bolted upright, wondering how long he had been knocked out. Oasis was nowhere to be seen, leaving a message that she would return once she finished leveling. Our hero realized he could not lag behind. He immediately accepted the Star of Darkness quest to advance to the 4th tier. Suddenly, he found himself inside a dimly lit chamber where a mysterious hooded figure sat upon a dark throne. A shadowy knight materialized nearby, coldly ordering him to show proper respect. Standing right before him was Lord Raven, the feared Star of Darkness. Though currently drained of his power once the World Crystal was returned, his legendary godlike strength would fully awaken. Respect, Mincheol knelt, his mind racing with a sudden, overwhelming dread. Why did this feel so terrifying? Why was it different? The Lord Raven announced that the final hour had arrived, stretching out his bony hand. Pure demonic power dragged the helpless young hero toward the monster. The creature claimed Mincheol had promised him his very body and soul. But Mincheol had no memory of ever making such a dark promise to this terrible creature. Meanwhile, the gorgeous city of white snow burned fiercely as the terrifying flames began spreading even faster now. Prince Nadog smashed monsters with his heavy ball. He roared that none would pass, looking back suddenly. The Dark Knight slowly approached him, prompting Nadog to order the warrior to turn back. Return to the abyss of darkness, he roared out. But words meant nothing. The Dark Knight easily destroyed the prince. Lindblom charged in immediately, screaming that he would avenge his fallen brother at any cost. In equal force, the second prince was effortlessly cut down as well. Elaine stood with her bow drawn, whispering they might actually die today. Yet she declared that the brave adventurers of this world would never surrender. They are strong and they are free. None of them would ever kneel before evil. The young man scoffed. That was only because he kept things easy. He only gave them challenges they could easily handle, nothing more. Slowing down enemy attacks and exposing every weakness gave them endless chances to claim victory. But what if an enemy ignores their rules, merciless and completely perfect? A flawless beast, an opponent they cannot hope to beat. What will you actually do when facing a terrifying foe that you cannot possibly handle? Lane screamed, "White snow forever," releasing her final desperate arrow. He simply stepped forward, sliding his cold blade straight through her chest. "Nothing lasts forever," he whispered softly. "Every single thing in this world must end. Since this game will shut down anyway, he will destroy it first." Hidden skill activated, the descent of the terrifying crow demon god. With every single enemy slain, his stats multiply, granting him incredible power for 3 minutes. Mincheol gasped. He had absolutely nothing to do with creating this skill. After all, he was still the only player holding the Dark Knight class. Developers would never create a massive game update just for one lone player like him. Suddenly, the Dark Knights bowed low, welcoming their supreme new commander. Every loyal believer swore eternal allegiance to their Dark Lord. They urged him to claim the Demon King's throne, lead the cult, and resurrect the ancient lord. With desperate pleas, they begged him to bring total ruin to this entire gaming world. "I will take it," Mincheol thought, smiling in the shadows. Pure luck, he had somehow climbed to the absolute top. The dark demon whispered that eternal night would quickly follow his dark ascension to power. The system announced that the Dark player successfully completed the fourth and final advancement quest. His Mighty Star of Darkness class had successfully been upgraded. A new skill unlocked, the Lord told him to worry about nothing. Their cult of darkness would soon become far more powerful and terrifying than ever before. Darkness is coming, and Mincheol absolutely loved it. Meanwhile, far away in the silent forest, Oasis sat completely alone, resting. Against a tree, she knew it was only a plot point in the game, but it still felt terrible. Oasis felt she had to stop it no matter what, yet on the other hand, together with her master, she had to destroy this world. Was that true? And how would Mincheol even look in the future? Suddenly, a glowing spatial portal appeared right in front of Oasis. Mincheol stepped out and announced that he had arrived in this world as the Demon King. Instantly, Oasis could not contain her emotions and immediately threw herself into her master's arms. She desperately asked him to promise her things would not end like they did in that horrific cutscene. Mincheol told her he only did that to give players a more thrilling experience. The best way to motivate people to fight harder is giving them a dark future to fight against. Confused, Oasis asked if her master had really just exaggerated to make the game more exciting, and Mincheol confirmed it, but the young man added that he could not promise a perfect future. Depending on how things go, everything might get even worse. Mincheol approached the portal and announced it was time to start. Oasis asked where they were heading now, and our hero replied that he had to fulfill a promise. He had to battle Cain. Meeting face to face, Mincheol said he wanted to double-check the rules and conditions of their wager. Cain reminded him that a victory meant Mincheol must make an official statement explaining what really happened in the Season 1 finale. Mincheol agreed, but if he won, Cain would become his underling. Cain unsheathed his blade, saying there was no point in waiting because he was ready to start right now. Mincheol told him not to rush before starting. He wanted to alter the deal. Cain snapped, "What was this shrimp trying to pull now?" Mincheol insisted he was serious and that it actually favored Cain. Our protagonist suggested fighting her instead, pointing right at Oasis. Naturally, Cain was completely stunned. Did this punk really expect him to fight a healer? Mincheol assured him that she was incredibly strong, since Cain only wanted to restore his name and expose the truth. This deal was perfect for him. Mincheol added that this shortcut favored his goals. Did Cain understand what he meant? Still, it was true that healers were far easier to defeat than hidden classes. Ultimately, it did not even matter who he faced in battle. The outcome would be identical. Cain decided to end this quickly and accepted the terms. Oasis was shocked, wondering where her master got such wild ideas. Mincheol simply smiled, telling Oasis not to worry because everything would go smoothly. She would succeed. The young man then added that it was time to enter the world arena. Though terrified, Oasis stepped forward to face her opponent with her weapon tightly gripped. Cain warned her up front that he would not hold back just because she was a healer. Oasis firmly replied that she expected the same from him. Meanwhile, Mincheol called out to Akashi, telling him to stop hiding and watch openly. Akashi admitted he thought he was perfectly concealed, wondering if Mincheol possessed a sixth sense. How long did he know? Mincheol revealed he knew from the second Akashi started tailing Cain. He asked why Akashi was following him. Akashi explained that the madman had wrecked their hideout, so they needed someone to keep a close eye on him whenever he wandered through Undertown. Nobody trusted him anymore. However, Akashi's spy reported that Cain was heading straight for Shrimp. He immediately realized something major was about to go down and followed. But what could be so important? Mincheol simply replied that Cain would soon become one of his minions. Akashi laughed. Did Shrimp really want this killer as his henchman? Mincheol explained that he planned to gather all the famous and skilled players in Wings Online and make them his own. Akashi was shocked. What was Shrimp actually planning to do? Mincheol replied that he was just playing a game, and that the game brought him joy. Mincheol said Akashi could stay and enjoy the show. He had to go. This was not ending anytime soon. Oasis realized this opponent was on a completely different level than anyone she had ever faced, but he was still just a warrior like the Swordmasters. They battled countless times back in the Heavenly Palace. Oasis knew everything about warrior skills. She swung and attacked her opponent with all her might. Cain easily dodged the strike. The killer was surprised. Was this girl really trying to attack him physically instead of using magic? So she wanted to be a combat healer. Fine by him. Cain struck hard and sent her flying backward. Watching from afar, Akashi gasped, "Is this guy even human?" Several conditions are required to activate Usura. It must be used just before the enemy's strike lands. At the very same moment, your weapon has to lock onto the enemy's weapon. In short, you must defend yourself from the oncoming strike with perfect timing. Yet the killer pulled off this insanely difficult skill as if it were second nature. Just how much had he trained? Kashi wondered how long the little healer could survive against such a monster. Kane was certain he felt the impact. That blow should have been absolutely critical, but this girl was somehow still standing. Kane could not believe he had to take a little healer seriously. 4 years ago, during the first finals round of the tournament, the entire crowd cheered for Kane. The player sat quietly on the sidelines as another competitor walked past him. The player stopped, turned around, and spoke to him. Kane looked up and saw it was Aaron. They only knew each other from the fields. He did not even want to talk to him. Aaron asked what Kane was betting on in this fight. Kane was shocked. What kind of question was that? Aaron explained that his own life was at stake. Kane replied that if Aaron meant his career as a gamer, he was betting that as well. Aaron clarified that he was talking about his real life. If he did not win here, everything was over. Kane could not comprehend what real life he meant. Aaron added that this desperation was exactly why he would win. No matter what, he promised to give everything to win. Kane was stunned. There was no way Aaron did not realize the truth. Whether it was class, fighting instinct, or pure reflexes, Kane was superior in every single aspect. Aaron could never defeat him. Back in the present, Oasis kept standing her ground. Kane bellowed in frustration, wondering why she would not die. He leaped high and swung his blade. Oasis raised her staff to block the strike. Kane unleashed a flurry of blows, and Oasis parried each one with equal intensity. Akashi was in absolute disbelief. A healer was actually tanking these heavy strikes. She was playing like an absolute beast. Akashi turned to Mincheol, asking if he had truly returned. Mincheol simply replied that it all depends entirely on how Oasis plays. Some players are open, while others are just complete jerks. The way she plays this healer is entirely up to her. It will all be over soon, just like last time. Then Kane speaks up. Does the enemy really have another hacker? Killer suddenly charges right at the girl. Sword in hand, Kane mutters that no matter what hacks they try to use, some walls are simply impossible to scale. Meanwhile, Oasis keeps blocking every brutal blow. No one ever expected this little girl to possess such ridiculous defensive skills. Suddenly she sees it, the habits, the patterns, and every single opening. After using Ashura, he unconsciously drops his sword low to the left. All she needs is to bait him into defending that lower left area. Then strike his upper right. In an instant, Oasis sets up the perfect trap. She triggers her power at the exact right millisecond and strikes the perfect spot. But then, a counter. Kane unleashes a devastating sheath removal technique. Oasis is obliterated in a flash. Akashi has no idea what just happened. Mincheol admits her defeat. Oasis lost, and Kane is on an entirely different level. Oasis calculated the incoming damage perfectly, using her healing skills to recover. A healer like her never needed to rush. Defensive play and full health bars were all she needed. She just needed full health before attacking. Then, when she least expected it, Kane unleashes his absolute strongest attack. Then, the Resurrection Stone is used. Oasis admits defeat. Mincheol reassures her, saying she did an amazing job. She was confident she would win. Still, the young man commends her performance. He never expected her to succeed. If she had only remained a bit more cool-headed, she could have dragged this out and won. Mincheol declares Kane the winner, praising his talent. Now they must prepare the official announcement for Season 1 of the tournament. Suddenly, Kane attacks again. Mincheol is stunned. What is he doing? He already won, but Kane speaks up. He claims the announcement is worthless. Fighting this cheater proved it. This game is nothing but a garbage dump filled with hackers. Mincheol mutters that Kane complains at every turn, totally blind to what he is missing. But the main character decides it is time to knock Kane down. It is time to knock Kane off his high horse. The demon god has arrived. Mincheol suddenly finds himself in a new area under the game master space. Aaron is standing right in front of him. He admits he used the bug. What can Mincheol even do about it now? Confiscate his winnings? No way, that seems highly unlikely. Would anyone really cancel a tournament after it became such a massive hit? Besides, Aaron knows the developers already looked closely at the logs. But what about Kane? Aaron reminds him of the bug in Ashura's counter. If the developers make this bug public, they will have to expose absolutely everything. After all, Kane only achieved his legendary status thanks to that bugged skill. Will they actually take his prize money and revoke his pro qualification? Both finalists have glitch skills. The Arcane Swordsman class is Aaron's craft, while the Warrior's Ashura skill is what defines Kane's class. It does not look like Kane is even aware that his skill is bugged. But he will suffer immensely if this shameful truth ever comes to light. This exploit in Ashura is incredibly broken, far worse than Millennium Snow. So who is taking the blame for this? Easy, it is the developers. No one blames the players abusing it, all the blame falls on the studio. They are the ones who let these fatal bugs slip right past security. Still, Mincheol argues that Aaron is also guilty for abusing the exploit. Aaron does not deny it, but they all know who really pays. To make matters worse, Kane used an even more dangerous game-breaking exploit. Aaron walks away. He has got way more important things to do anyway. He is planning on winning again and again. Meanwhile, back at headquarters. In the second hall, Mincheol explains everything. He wants to go public. The PR director, Kyung-hee Lee, shuts it down. Absolutely impossible. Both players used cheats, meaning both are guilty. Still, Mincheol objects. Aaron knew about the exploit. Kane was totally clueless. The players deserve truth. Kyung-hee argues this scandal will completely destroy the company's stock value. Huge sponsors and product placements are already set for the next tournament. Knowing the stakes, Mincheol offers to take full responsibility himself. The director is skeptical. How exactly does he plan on doing that? He will resign. He will leave his position as director immediately. Kyung-hee Lee tells him to stop being so dramatic over a tiny mistake. Quitting over this, Mincheol clenches his fists, offering a tense apology. It was his mistake. He should have caught it during final checks. An employee asks about Kane. What happens if this gets out? If it leaks, Kane is finished, dead. The fans are already tearing him down. If they find out he glitched into the finals, they will crucify him. The fans will tear him apart, and his professional gaming career is over. A colleague suggests running a battle simulation to see how it should have gone. If the actual simulation results change, they will expose the truth. If not, they bury it forever. Now watch what happens next. The demon god descends. Our main character completely shreds Kane. Mincheol explains why Kane was so convinced that Oasis was hacking. Oasis is not human. She is a highly advanced artificial intelligence. Her reaction times are superhuman, but she still cannot bypass system limits. Oasis played at the absolute peak of human capability, nothing more. If she was not limited by the system, Kane would never have touched her. Even so, our hero still honors Kane's victory, promising to expose the tournament's lies. The gaming world is finally going to hear the real truth. Suddenly, Gaia delivers the simulation. Aaron had a 95% win rate. Hearing this, the board sighs. The outcome was already decided. Even without any exploits, Aaron would have completely dominated the tournament. Exposing it now only ruins the players, for absolutely nothing. They decide to bury it. Gaia asks if they need anything. With no more questions, the manager steps in with one final order. This stays in this room. Mincheol cannot say a single word. It is better for everyone. Just close your eyes and forget. Mincheol stares at the floor, silent, letting the corporate lies sink in. The players deserve to know the truth. Every single tournament competitor has a right to a completely level playing field. The director asks if Mincheol really wants to destroy his own company. Mincheol gets up and walks toward the exit. The director is absolutely furious. Where does he think he is going? The meeting is not over yet. Mincheol says he does not care who won. There was a bug, so holding a rematch is only fair. Rules are rules. Mincheol adds that he will take full responsibility. Go release the official announcement right now. The other board members try to block him. A massive scene starts to break out. Meanwhile, a young man insists there was never a bug. His companion is completely shocked, asking what he means since Kane even showed Shrimp actual proof. Of everything, you can literally look at the files they got, but the young man says he has to stick to the Naples Group's official stance on the matter. It is all for Kane's own good anyway. If they reveal what actually went down, Kane is the only one who will suffer the consequences. Season 2 is right around the corner, and another big tournament is coming. Kane can still win it, but Kane snaps that Aaron is a Total cheater, and that is a cold fact. Why is the company trying to cover for him? The advisor tells Kane to stay calm because nobody cheated. Kane suddenly grabs the man by the collar, demanding to know where Shrimp is hiding. He needs to speak to him right this second. Driven to the edge, Kane decides to go live, recording a video to expose the whole ugly truth. He lays out everything that went down during that final tournament match. Thousands of people tune in to watch. By the end, Kane states he does not even want a rematch. He just wants everyone to finally know the truth. But the public is brutal. They claim that even without a bug, Kane would have lost to Aaron anyway. People start wondering why Kane is crying about it, saying he is just trying to trash the champion's reputation. Kane figures they can say whatever they want. At least the word is out. Now the Naples group has no choice but to release a formal statement, and then everyone will see he was right all along. But the Naples group releases their response. After reviewing the match logs, they claim every single player competed fairly. No bugs were ever found. Then Aaron also drops a personal response. He admits there are rumors floating around about a game bug, but he is just glad his name is cleared, harboring absolutely zero hard feelings toward Kane. Aaron even adds that he hopes to face Kane again in the future, not under these tragic circumstances, but on a real tournament stage. They should settle it fairly, and honestly, Kane is left completely broken by this. Sure, it was a tiny bug that might not have changed the final outcome, but he just wanted the truth out there. Is that really so wrong? Kane knows he did nothing wrong here. If anyone is dirty, it is Aaron for taking full advantage of that glitch, and Shrimp is totally guilty for covering his tracks. Kane feels the entire Naples group is to blame because they all chose to turn against him. The real corruption is rotting inside this very game. Now, whenever players meet, everyone mocks Kane. He has been the absolute talk of the town for days now. Everyone asks if he is just insanely jealous of Aaron. A passing player asks how Kane is feeling, asking if he is still mad. In a flash, that player is torn straight to shreds. The bystanders are completely stunned. Did Kane really just obliterate him? Right here in the freezing snow. What is his deal? Kane is supposed to be a professional. Why would a pro gamer destroy a random passerby? Kane explained he was no longer an active player. He retired, but the crowd did not understand that this. What on earth was going on, and why was Kane acting like this? He announced that starting today, he was going to destroy this game using a bug in his warrior skill. Kane simply believed the tournament rules were set up so that his damage would be dialed back. But did that actually mean he was the sole player benefiting from this glitch? Mincheol argued that Kane did absolutely nothing wrong. It was on the developers for not patching the glitch. If they had actually followed their own rules, the players would have faced a rematch or a double disqualification. Kane asked why they did not do that back then. Mincheol explained that he had built this virtual world. He believed he was the captain of the ship, but soon realized that was not true. Mincheol was merely an ordinary employee of the Naples group. After that debacle, Mincheol was forced completely out of the esports tournament scene. Entirely, banished strictly to back-end development. He never let go of what went down that day. How they treated Kane weighed on his conscience for a very long time. Mincheol finally reached his limit, realizing this game was rotten to the core. They used to hide their corruption, but now they did it openly without shame. So what? Kane asked. Our main character replied that he had an offer for him. Did he want to join forces and tear down this entire world? Kane answered that he was not about to become a mindless follower who obeyed every single order. He was only partnering up because their ultimate goals aligned. Mincheol told him that was more than enough. An all-out war was brewing, and Kane needed to prepare. He would get the call soon. Kane admitted he had misjudged Shrimp, and Mincheol apologized. If only he had warned Kane sooner, things never would have spiraled out of control. Kane that he would patiently await the message. The moment Kane left, Akashi stepped out from the shadows. Mincheol playfully asked if Akashi was truly that terrified of him. He could have said hello. Akashi replied that he never stood a chance. Every single time they crossed paths, his head got sent flying. Still, Shrimp somehow managed to recruit the legendary Kane, a guy infamous for being a total lone wolf. In past encounter, Kane had strictly fought on his own. Mincheol pointed out that people band together when they must and go their own ways afterward. Is not that the fundamental rule of business? Mincheol then asked if Akashi wanted in on the plan. Akashi gave a hard pass, saying the scale was way too massive. He wanted absolutely no part of the fallout. Mincheol just told Akashi to let him know if he had a change of heart. our protagonist knew Akashi would join the team soon enough. It was all part of the master plan, Mincheol told Oasis. That it was time to make their move. She could have sworn she saw her master transform into a demonic crow god for a split second. Oasis asked what they would do next, and Mincheol said they must prepare. A single extra ally was not going to cut it. Oasis asked if he had any potential allies. Our protagonist nodded, saying they were paying them a visit right now. He had a solid list of prime candidates lined up, but first, a little downtime was in order. They were heading off on vacation, and Mincheol announced they were flying to Bali at the same time. Kane noticed his fame had been slashed in half, deep within the dark cult outpost of Wondertown. Alpha and Beta bowed to the Lord of Darkness, the girls said. Their master had been gone for far too long, but the Dark Knight replied that he was just incredibly busy. Alpha and Beta reported that, following his orders, they barracks upgraded, troops trained. Mincheol looked over his new forces. The golem stood out. He looked different. Mincheol asked Alpha who it was. Alpha explained, this was a unique soldier, an incredibly rare class. Meet Kerr, a brutal, unique spearman from the Goblin class. Barracks level and heavy investments determine the odds of these spawns. Mincheol decided he would use the fame points gained from Kane. The commander ordered new upgrades. 5 barracks must reach level 5. All main facilities to level 3, plus 5 more golems. Suddenly, a notification popped up. He was almost at his destination. Time to wrap up. He had to log out now. The commander bid the girls goodbye, promising he would return very soon. Alpha and Beta bowed, promising to wait faithfully for their Dark Lord. Mincheol logged out and took off his VR headset as they descended. The stewardess made the landing announcement, fasten your seat belts. He looked around. Oasis was projecting the outside view onto the window. They landed safely. He headed out to find his ride. Waiting out there was Rabbit, looking for her friend Shrimp. Stepping out into Bali, he spotted her waving a set of car keys. Mincheol waved back, greeting Rabbit. It had been way too long. He asked how she was doing. Oasis immediately judged her outfit as vulgar. Rabbit just smirked, letting him admire her new look. She had definitely grown. Had it really been 3 years already? Rabbit smiled, reminding him she was still in high school back then. Now a total transformation. Mincheol could not help but stare. His eyes kept drifting to her chest. It was completely out of his control. Oasis instantly called him a pervert, making him highly defensive. Rabbit ignored them. Did he really want her to hack napalm? He nodded. She did it once before, so why not do it again? The girl sighed, explaining that she only wanted a branch from the world tree. It was one of the best items in Season 2, but drops were impossible. Tired of the mindless monster grind, she simply hacked the system. Mincheol stared, stunned by how casually she spoke about it. Did she not realize how much that stunt stressed him? Napalm Group's firewall is literally legendary, top of the line. For game giants, data is lifeblood. They protect it fiercely. Yet a schoolgirl bypassed it like it was nothing. She breached world-class security, and she was still in school back then. Mincheol shook his head, calling her a terrifying little monster. The company only realized they had been hacked a whole week later. And that was only after they spotted her signature rabbit logo inside. She admitted she wanted to show off her hacking skills back then. But she nearly had a heart attack when Interpol started hunting her. She added that she was still grateful he kept her out of court. Then he accidentally bumped against her chest, freezing instantly. Oasis flared instantly, letting out a highly jealous reaction. Mincheol jumps back instantly, looking exactly as if he just got zapped by a high-voltage shock. Mincheol clarifies that Rabbit was never actually trying to do anything like spy on them. She is just a regular schoolgirl after all, simply looking to secure a rare item. But thanks to her, they ended up upgrading their security for a total win-win. Oasis keeps glaring at her master, who is sweating bullets under her gaze. Rabbit is totally satisfied with how everything turned out. That is how she met Shrimp. The two of them keep chatting while Oasis simply stands by and watches silently. Rabbit invites Shrimp, and Mincheol looks around. He wonders if this place has any actual guests and how Rabbit survives. She casually replies that she owns the building, so it does not matter. She basically keeps the place running just so her friends have a comfortable room to crash. Heading down to the basement, our hero is thoroughly impressed by the security setup. Rabbit explains that this hidden, high-tech basement is where she actually makes her entire living. The office is packed with high-tech gear, and a virtual assistant greets Rabbit. The assistant was expecting her, prompting Rabbit to make some quick introductions. Meet Alice, her AI assistant. Mincheol is completely surprised. Does a master hacker like Rabbit really need an assistant? She just laughs. She says there is no reason to refuse a useful AI assistant. Oasis guesses Alice can see her because they are both systems. Oasis instantly gets annoyed, wondering why Alice is smirking at her. After all, she is way newer. Cutting to the chase, Rabbit asks what Shrimp wants. Does he want her to breach the Wings database and delete the finale? Mincheol is skeptical, wondering if the young hacker can actually pull it off. She explains that the sheer volume of data means it will take time. However, the backdoor exploit she left 3 years ago is still wide open. Mincheol smiles, saying he should have guessed, prompting a grin from Rabbit. She knows he had it all figured out, but she still has a question. What exactly does Shrimp plan to do with this data? The young man answers honestly. He wants to keep his game pure before the entire world is ruined. Rabbit notes the 5th season ends in 3 days at midnight Korean time. Shrimp notes that means 11 p.m. local time, so Rabbit decides to start immediately. There is no point in waiting, and she needs to concentrate on the hack. She tells him to go outside and enjoy the beautiful Balisan. Oasis wonders. She asks her master why he wants to back up the 5th season. Mincheol explains he simply wants a clean backup copy, just as he always planned. In any case, they have other work to do while their friend is busy. Oasis asks what they should do since they already reached the maximum level. Mincheol smiles, declaring it is finally time to gather their ultimate virtual squad. Their destination is Elril Temple, the final dungeon added 4 years ago. This was the historic site of the first ever massive player raid on a boss. Players once gathered here for glory and loot, but now it is a total wasteland. Nobody visits anymore, yet one lone warrior continues to guard these quiet ruins. Meet the Tyrant, the legendary defender of this long-abandoned temple. He is the supreme leader of the feared Oldman Brotherhood Guild. An absolute beast who wants nothing more than to rule the entire server. He once used absolute power to destroy massive fortresses and conquer entire cities. Control of dungeons and fields was his goal, trying to subjugate everything. But times changed. Outdated dungeon management simply did not work anymore. Streamers and professional players took over the scene. The entire player base revolted, and the Brotherhood found itself completely outnumbered. Left against the world, their strength quickly crumbled, their ranks thinned. Internal strife tore them apart, in the end, their very first base. The ancient Temple of El became their absolute last line of defense. Only the leader remained, just one single man was left. Oldman demanded to know who was there, holding his ground firmly. This ruin was his palace. He expected the uninvited guest to bow. The newly arrived knight scoffed, noting the place was a bit run down. Oldman snapped back that wherever the king resides, his palace exists. It did not matter if it was a ruin or a mansion. To him, it remained the absolute center of the world. He demanded a bow. Mincheol had met plenty of roleplayers before, but this guy was on another level. He completely separated his actual life in the real world from this virtual fantasy. He truly believed he was a king, fully living the fantasy. Mincheol spoke up, asking if the old tyrant still dreamed of conquest. The answer came instantly: a man without ambition is nothing. Ambition defines a man. Oldman refuses to yield even a single inch. Mincheol asked if that still held true, even after everyone abandoned him. The old man replied that only his will mattered. He would never yield. Mincheol sighed, asking if it was finally time to face reality. The king roared, "Shut up, reality is an excuse for the weak." Mincheol calmly asked why a great king would hide here. Oldman barked back that he was not hiding, he was simply waiting. He was waiting for his hour. He once held the world in his hands. His only mistake was striking when the time was not yet right. Mincheol scoffed, so the great king is just living in the past. Oldman warned him not to mock his glory, ordering him to leave. Mincheol refused. His waiting was pointless. It was time to go. Nothing but bones remained of his dead empire. Time to move on. The king stood up. He grabbed a massive war hammer in fury. He growled that he alone decided who comes and goes in this place. He actually enjoyed the chat, since he had not seen a soul in months. But the intruder talked too much. To speak, he must first fight. Mincheol activated his scan. he was facing a level 90 warrior. His legendary gear was level 900, that is completely maxed out equipment. Mincheol knew how hard it was to get these rare items. Only a handful of elite players on the entire server owned them. The warrior class was deadly, combining berserker attack with defender shield. His only real flaw was speed. The giant was incredibly slow on his feet. To compensate, he signed a contract of oblivion. He was no fool. He swung the giant hammer with force, but Mincheol quickly dodged. They trade fierce blows, clashing from the shadows. The old king asks his opponent if he understands the choice behind his class, because it holds the most absolute stats. Mincheol asks how long it has been since the old man was. On his knees, the king proudly snaps back that it has never happened. Mincheol says he wants to share some real experience with him. The king declares such tricks will never work on him. The old man leaps high into the air, shouting that he will end this battle now. Our hero immediately triggers the power of the demon god. He prepares to block the blow and strike back. Meanwhile, Oasis waits outside the heavy doors, wondering what is taking him so long. Her master promised a quick return. Suddenly, a group of players approaches. The young girl claiming they finally found her. She is the healer they wanted. They demand to know where her leader is hiding. Oasis immediately recognizes this hostile player. 2 hours earlier in Andertown, Mincheol told her they had business to settle before recruiting the old man. 10 specific players needed to be taken out. Waiting for his skill bar to recharge took forever. Just then, a nearby player barks at him to watch his step. Mincheol casually thanks him, smiling because now he does not even have to waste time hunting for a target. The angry player points to his emblem, proudly declaring they are from the elite Grim Reaper Guild. Is he blind? A flash later, Mincheol wipes them all out. Now they ask Oasis if the master is inside. She quietly nods, warning them they cannot enter. But back inside, Mincheol is locked in furious combat. The old man takes a heavy hit, reeling backward. Mincheol realizes this elder wields a hidden class. He wonders if there are still secret classes left to discover. Mincheol warns him that he is playing for keeps now. The old man smiles, admitting he has not felt this kind of raw power in ages. The kid is truly impressive. Still, the veteran demands that Mincheol kneel before his limitless might, but with a swift counter, Mincheol slams the king down and asks if he wants to go back. The confused king asks what he means. Does he want his true legendary power back, to return to the glory days when thousands of loyal soldiers answered his call, to when he crushed elite enemies and ruled dungeons, demanding tribute from conquered cities while he demolished fortresses? Our protagonist asks if the old man will join his side if he promises to restore that legacy. The elder warns him not to ask things he should not. Mincheol pushes further, even if it is temporary. The king pauses, admitting that even if it is just a fleeting moment to stand at the absolute top of the world again, he will take it. Even in ruins, he would rather rule a decaying wasteland than a trembling half of a kingdom. Mincheol tells him to leave those dusty memories behind as they exit the old castle. Suddenly, a panicked player runs toward them, screaming for desperate help against a complete psycho. Mincheol instantly recognizes the runner. The pursuer is actually Oasis, who has been relentlessly beating him down. The old king confusedly asks if Mincheol knows this wild girl. Oasis stops, shocked to see her leader. Mincheol casually explains she is his personal healer. Meanwhile, down south, on the Arperian continent, a minor pest named Agra King flees from heavily armed. Hostile players cornered Agra King, shouting that they wouldn't let him slip away so easily. He glanced back. Didn't these stubborn idiots know when to give up? They all talked big about catching him, but absolutely nobody had managed it yet. A furious player yelled out, demanding the pest return their stolen loot immediately. Only then would they spare him, but Agra King just laughed at their weakness. He mockingly scaled a ship docked in the harbor, escaping to the top. Perching on the mast, he watched his angry pursuers scream that he was trapped. Surrender now, they yelled, but the thief realized this was premium streaming content. He quickly turned on his recording camera to broadcast his escape live. But a sudden system warning popped up. His account was permanently banned. He stared at the screen, completely baffled by yet another ban. A heavily armed hunter climbed up, spotting Agra King slumped in the corner. Grabbing him tightly by the neck, the hunter sneered that the game was over. He demanded his final words, but Agra King only smirked, whispering, Alia iacta est. The hunter blinked, utterly clueless, as the thief casually tossed a single die upward. He declared that the die was cast, but the hunter mocked his roll of 2. Right then, massive meteors of fire suddenly came raining down from the heavens. The entire ship exploded and began to sink. Talk about top-tier entertainment content. Pulling himself out of the blast, Agra King sighed. He should have recorded that. It was such a tragic waste. That chaotic trick came from the goddess's dice. The item activates completely random spells, keeping both players guessing. He explained to his half-dead enemies that the skill was 100% random. A surviving enemy floating in the water spat back that it wasn't over yet. Agra King just chuckled, asking what a pathetic drowned rat could possibly do. He casually strolled away from the burning wreck, slowly swimming back to dry land. But the moment he touched the sand, a powerful mage blocked his path. Cast in an instant, mass resurrection brought every single dead hunter back to life. As an elite offensive guild, they always made sure to carry a healer. Realizing he was hopelessly outnumbered, Agra King finally accepted his doom. Raising his hands in total surrender, he invited them to do their worst. Grabbing the thief by his throat, the leader promised him a painful end. He listed his plans, roasting, boiling, and smoking him into a Christmas ham. Just then, a massive spatial rift tore open, revealing Mincheol and Oasis. Stepping onto the beach, the warrior smirked, announcing they arrived just in time. The startled leader demanded to know their names, but Mincheol didn't care. Unleashing a swift attack, he shattered the guild's formation, setting Agra King free. Safe at last, the thief sighed with relief as Mincheol easily swept the battlefield. The hero walked over, asking the young man if his name was Agra King. The thief nodded, asking who his savior was, as Mincheol offered him a lifeline. The hero explained that this guy had been banned 15 times for stream trolling. He was infamous for doing absolutely anything to humiliate and provoke others. But he went too far by targeting the reigning tournament champion. After publicly defaming Aaron, he was sued and permanently banned from the game. Now Mincheol pointed out that all of his fans had completely vanished. Abandoned and broke, the fallen streamer was treated like absolute garbage, ruining his spirit. He hears his own secrets, but the young man simply says he is deeply grateful they welcomed him in, despite knowing his dark history. But he refuses to serve anyone. Beside him, Agra King tosses a shining die. The streamer throws it, but Mincheol catches it midair. He quotes Julius Caesar, "The die is cast," a favorite line. But Einstein's quote is even better: "God does not play dice with the universe." Our hero clarifies that he has no plans of ruling Agra King. Instead, Mincheol offers him a massive deal. Agra King can stream to a global audience, and he gets to keep every single cent of the donations. The streamer is stunned. Can this guy really pull off something? This massive, he thinks it is a total, absolute bluff. Mincheol drops the bomb, the complete destruction of Wings Online. Now that is a real crowd pleaser. Agra King is instantly sold. With Agra King recruited, Mincheol heads downstairs to check if his hacker Rabbit is free. He heads downstairs only to find Rabbit completely collapsed on the floor, rushing over. To see what happened, she weakly opens her eyes and smiles back at him. She greets her savior, Shrimp, before instantly drifting back to sleep. Mincheol asks if she is all right, and Rabbit explains her brutal situation. Apparently, the Napalm security team tracked her down, and she had to fight them off. All night long while extracting the last remaining bits of encrypted data. It was brutal. Napalm's response was far faster than she anticipated. She lost her escape route under pressure, but still managed to upload everything. Mincheol downloads the precious data and warmly thanks the tired hacker. But Rabbit is surprised. Is that really all he has to say? He reassures her that a massive, fair payout is coming her way. Rabbit just smiles, saying cash is not what she is talking about. Mincheol is surprised. She reveals that she wants to participate in this wild venture. Entire mission, Mincheol immediately objects. It is way too dangerous for her, but Rabbit scoffs. No matter how dangerous, it is just a virtual world. She won't actually die. Besides, her old life ended 3 years ago. The day Shrimp saved her, she swore to do whatever it takes to help him. She doesn't want his money, she wants him to officially take her in. Mincheol insists on paying her anyway, but if Rabbit really wants to help him, he is incredibly grateful. He is actively looking for partners. The girl is thrilled, promising to be the best assistant he will ever have. But first there is a test, one of the people they need to recruit. is currently locked inside his private house, shutting himself off completely. Nobody else can enter. The security system in there is incredibly tough. Mincheol asks if she can get him inside, and Rabbit smiles at the challenge. Is he seriously asking her to hack the game? That is absolute child play. Inside the game, a masked man admires a mysterious glowing bottle in his lab. Mincheol suddenly speaks up from behind, asking if he likes the work. The masked man whirls around in shock, demanding to know how he got inside. Mincheol notes that the doctor has collected rare samples of monster debuffs. How did he manage that? The masked man is left completely speechless. Curious about his research, the doctor confirmed he had collected every single monster debuff. Across the entire game, he spent the last 5 years of his life on it. Ever since the day the game launched, this was his private museum, Min asked. How he did it since infected items cannot leave the dungeon. How could the doctor possibly smuggle all these deadly debuffs out? The masked man smiled. He literally used his own physical body to store them. He was a necromancer doctor, or more specifically, a poison eater. Holding the 4th tier of this class, a poison eater handles dangerous toxins. They can absorb gases, neutralize venom, and work as elite battlefield medics. Basically, they are a healer and merchant combined. The doctor went looking for bosses, letting them curse him while his massive resistances halved the damage. Then he used his advanced secondary healing spells to stay alive. He kept regenerating until he survived. That is how he gathered everything. Now look at these bottled slimes. They are called immunoslimes. They are completely immune to standard status effects, but with a twist. While they ignore external debuffs, they can actually be permanently imprinted with them. That effect stays forever, a strange glitch in their perfect defense, the doctor explained that this unique trait is why he bottles up these slimes. They act as perfect storage for his dark collection. Mincheol recognized it as a literal programming exploit. Since they ignore all effects, there is no harm. But because of messy coding, the debuffs never expire. Our protagonist was stunned. Who would exploit a glitch like this? What is his ultimate goal? Mincheol spoke up, pointing out the seasonal debuffs of lethargy and water prison, and asked if the doctor was the mastermind behind those outbreaks. The doctor answered that even though this is a game, it is still a society. People log in to escape, yet this world mirrors reality perfectly. Quite fascinating. Is it not? The lethargy debuff just drains speed and stamina and ruined recovery times. It was not game-breaking, just highly annoying. All they needed was a simple, low-level cure spell to clear the effect, which any player could unlock by simply reaching level 10. The doctor wanted to see if he released this curse in the starter zone. Would high-level veterans actually step up to help the brand new players? For absolutely nothing in return, would they show even a shred of decency? And you know what? It actually happened. Experienced players flooded the zone, curing every sick newcomer they could find, entirely of their own free will. The entire starter area was completely cleared in just 12 hours. Beautiful. But it was not enough. He needed to push the experiment further. So he unleashed the legendary water prison, a curse from the Kraken. It traps players inside a massive water bubble, slowly draining their health, leaving the victim helpless. They could only use items or attempt trades. Worse, if anyone touched the sphere, they got trapped in their own bubble. The only cure, cheap waterproof potions, sold right outside the boss room. High-level raiders could buy them easily. It was barely an inconvenience. At first, some kind souls arrived to hand out free cure potions. But the moment they realized how fast the plague was spreading, once they left, everyone got furious. Why were they denied even a single potion? The doctor explained that high-ranking players immediately began selling the waterproof potions. Prices quickly skyrocketed 20 times over as those top players bought them up. They resold them for massive profits, and the doctor would never forget that absolute chaos. Ordinary mid- and low-level players were left to suffer inside their water prisons. People fought desperately over potions, while high-level players hunted for any quick gold. The doctor admitted he actually felt a twisted sense of joy watching all that madness. Mincheol asked what conclusion the doctor had ultimately reached after all his experiments. The doctor replied that drawing a final conclusion after only 2 tests was impossible. Instead, his working theory is that people do not help each other out of kindness. Humans only help others when they can get something they actually need in return. During the first phase, they gained emotional satisfaction by helping for a small fee. But during the second test, their only motivation was pure financial profit. The loop continued until a dark new element finally appeared. The doctor held up a vial of dark dust, prompting Mincheol to ask what it was. It was the one piece of data Gaia failed to delete, and Mincheol remembered it instantly.